Yeah, we're all
right.
screwed
Good
up tonight.
evening. Yeah, maybe we got hit by
Yeah, really.
something it's been messing with our satellites or something. Who knows? Yeah, but we're here, folks. Sorry for the delay, but we'll catch up.
It's all my fault, everybody. Danny had nothing to do with it, let me tell you. All right, we're actually on the air, Danny. Can you believe it?
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey,
Good evening to
ready
you.
to rock.
Man, I just got back from the Amigo. We can talk about plunker bites and your advice on that kind of stuff.
Sure.
This season's a long way from over. Do you agree?
Oh, it's a long ways from over. I think we're going to have a phenomenal fall. I mean, you look at water temps, the amount of bait out there and everything else. And like I said, I still don't discount some exotics like the longfins coming showing up. As the water cools off and the bait's still around. I mean, that's conducive for them. So we don't know. Only only the guy up there knows.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And
But
that's it's something that we, because of what's going on the last week or so, everybody has revisits, what's going on with that, and that's why the shirt, uh, Phil and I have the same beliefs on everything, but that allows us to have the fishing and to have the freedoms to travel to go to different destinations and everything else and in peace, and so of course we're all behind what we're doing here and behind Israel, and but it sure changed things, and there's some things that we're going to talk about. I mean, Phil, I can remember it was my first trip down to Brazil down in 2001, and it was right after 9/11, and the security and the measures, it changed our lives forever. I mean, it really did change everything at that point. But mainly things that go in our head and the way we prep now and have to deal, with traveling, and for the safety of ourselves and everybody else, we understand that. But and then I'll talk about. I mean, it was we had a trip scheduled down in San Diego, and that was an oddball deal where we were kind of escorted out of the harbor, right at North Island down there in the channel, when these F-15s were taking off left and right, just one after another. So what an eerie feeling, and then having the choppers over you when you came into the harbor, you had to notify them, and they were all, surveilling us, to make sure that the only thing that was on the deck was, albacore, I think it was at that time. But, it's just, it changes everything for us, folks. And so it's something we'll be talking about too. We'll try to keep it on the upside, but yeah,
so I've known you a long time, and am I reading this right or not? You seem very emotional tonight since the time I met you. Seem like you're on the verge of tears almost.
well,
Or
it
are you?
just it gets to me.
Yeah,
My uncles, they all served in the military.
yeah.
They volunteered out from behind barbed wire and machine guns here in this country.
They were
Three of
put,
them,
so everybody knows, they were forced to give up all their belongings,
they lost the
forced into
farms, they lost
internment
everything.
camps,
Yes, lost everything.
unjustly so. Horrible part of the U.S. history.
Oh
And
yeah,
yet, when it came time to fight for the country, they went and they did it. Oh my God,
we're
are they
Americans.
head and shoulders above some of the? I
No,
don't
there's.
want to
I
get
think
into
I
it.
think we have a lot of people like that. But now it's very difficult. I mean, it's not the same. I mean, I'm seeing college students endorsing these terrorists and stuff. I said, so it's not the same. I do have a problem with it. I mean, they gave up their friends. They lost. They lost a lot of friends. They gave up their life fighting for this freedom, and now we have college kids that are endorsing, terrorists and stuff. Well, I got news for them. Don't come to my house. You know, as you're not welcome, as far as I'm concerned. We owe a strong loyalty to these people that gave up their lives and that sacrificed so much to have these freedoms, particularly for us that go fishing and stuff. We took it for granted. But again, I'm telling you, just about what happened in 2001 right after 9/11, that opened our eyes at that point. But, since then, security measures and everything have been instituted. And we've been very blessed that we haven't had that problem until now. And it just brings all that back. I think that's what gets to me, Phil.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, um, But I think what gets so many people more is like you mentioned too, is that you have a number of people in the country that are supporting, and these terrorists and their acts, and I go, you know what, you're not my friend, and I'm not going to make any
I'm
anything for no excuses for them. I'm
I
sorry,
I'm
but
beyond
you're my enemy now.
shocked.
That's the way it is.
I'm
Yeah.
beyond shocked how anyone can support the atrocities that we've seen
Oh,
committed on innocent
yes.
women and children, especially.
Yeah.
But older men and older. I mean,
Babies,
anybody.
everything. Yeah, everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
I,
So
I
that's not why we're in this country. That's not why my ancestors, your ancestors left. Mine left Japan because they were being persecuted in Japan because they were Christians. It was not a popular thing there. This is in the 1890s, right? And so, this was the place to come until December 7th, 1941, right? But even then, you have to forgive, forget, and go on with your life. You don't harbor that, because I think if you harbor that, it makes it worse. You get that, resentment, and you kind of have to let that go. I have to do that, people. I have to work on that a lot, because I get ticked off seeing what's going on after these people have sacrificed their lives, during World War One, during World War II. I mean, throughout history, so we could have the freedom that we have. And so people that endorse what's going on over there, guess what? Go move over there. Don't let the door hit you in the butt when you're going out. See ya. If maybe we can get those flights subsidized for you too. But anyway, yeah, that might be enough of my rant for now. I think most of these guys want to talk about fishing. But
I know. Well,
you
it's important, because I can see it's important to you. It should be important to every single
yeah.
one of us.
Yeah.
And if you have a good reason to not support Israel, okay, I'm all ears, I'll listen. But how anyone can support what we've seen go on here recently, or it's awful.
It's horrible, Phil.
You talk
Yeah, I
about
can't
man's inhumanity to man. This
Yes.
is in full display right now.
Innocent women, kids, a baby. It's hard. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I'm same way. I've been walking around in
Yeah.
a funk,
Yeah.
and not only that, I told you I was with Eddie Leland, who has not very much
I
longer
know.
to be with us.
That's another
Everybody,
one. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
not going to be with us too much longer. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to have to switch gears here and pick this up. So it's
Yeah,
good. But
we got to
for a
enlighten
second,
you. I want to put you guys down in the,
I
down
do.
in
I
the
wanna-
fish hole right now.
I
So
want to press you on one thing. You said
Yeah.
you had to forget these things and move on. You do. Yeah, right. But you're not saying that it's time to forget what just happened in Israel, are you?
Oh no,
and move on.
no.
There's some retribution.
Oh,
or-
absolutely. No,
and
no,
and
we
not
don't-
just
we're
for
not gonna let it
vengeance
go.
sake,
No.
not just for that.
No,
But
there's evil
Yeah.
out there, and we have to contend with it. And as a country, it's always worked for us that we've worked together in fighting evil.
yeah,
But like I said, for those that are being taught in colleges and everything, that isn't the way. Guess what? Don't let the door hit you in the butt as you're flying out. Maybe we can get those flights subsidized, and then you'll find out what it's really like. Yeah, you're a dreamer. Yeah.
yeah. All right, you want to read some? Want me to read some?
Yeah, let's
All right,
go.
here we
Let's
go.
do it.
Patrick Harnjack from Montana says, "Good evening, Patrick and Sarah and everybody. It's always good to see you." All right, here's a good one. I like stimulate. He's going to take us right out of this sadness
Perfect.
right now. Danny, don't look up there. I'm
Oh,
going to ask you
all
the
right.
question. What do you call a gaff when fishing for halibut? A butt lift. I like that. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Way to go, stimulate.
There you go.
can-
All right.
with
That lightened it up.
the right.
That's
yeah,
good. That's good. We needed that.
I like this guy. Steve Dent says, "Godly, greatest word ever." I love your T-shirt.
Yeah, that's what brought us here.
And Patrick
all
up
of
in
us.
up in Montana saying, "A butt lift. That's awesome. It is awesome, man. Way to go. We needed that. Like Danny just said." Tony says, "Yeah, make America godly again." Amen to that.
Absolutely.
David Alcantar says, "Amen, Danny." And then he says, "I'd personally pay for some of those flights."
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Send some of the people out of here.
We'll make it a one-way flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. A kamikaze mission.
It's almost like, here I go back on this, but you watch like one of those Nazi type movies like Schindler's List or something, and I can hardly watch it. And you think to yourself, wow, things were really awful at that point in time in our history. Thank God That's not going on anywhere in the world anymore. And here we are in 2023. And
it's just hard
that
to
was
imagine.
Nazi-esque what happened down there. Killing people on the basis of their ethnicity.
Yeah.
Innocent people.
Babies, women, not even military. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Phil, we're gonna have to get more into fishing, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, no, enough of
although,
that. Sorry, everybody.
I can see it will gravitate out of a fish kill. Yeah.
Who knows? YouTube will probably throw us out of here tonight. For you're not allowed to express your opinion on YouTube, are you?
Oh, jeez.
All right. Hey, so we were in a plunker bite on board the Amigo.
Yeah.
What's a good? I mean, a couple guys are getting bit, and I know I'm going to give you one of the things that worked, which you would suggest anyway. But guys dropped down to 20 pound, got bit right away. So
It's always a drop down. I mean, it's line size, fluorocarbon, hook size, folks. And even with hooks, when it gets that touchy, I would suggest you guys use the ring hook or have it so it's a free floating head. Also, the placement. When you find out where the guy's hooking this particular bait, on that particular day, it could change. And you got to make that adaptation, So it's really watching. If a guy's consistent, if the same guy's catching the fish, keep an eye on what he's doing. It's not, consistent fishing really doesn't have anything to do with luck, folks. It's doing that due diligence, and it's watching, observing, changing, making that adaptation. And the quicker you make that adaptation, the quicker you're going to be into the bite, So that's what it's all about. But it's usually dropping down line size, hook size, That sounds like typical classic bluefin fishing, Phil. When goes down to light line, it's always been like that in the past. We have been spoiled this year and last year, where they come up and they'll start chewing 100 pound during the day sometimes, But in the years past, that's not what bluefin fishing was all about. It was you getting them fishing the lighter lines, and a lot of the little technical things making the big difference in that.
That's for sure. What else do you recommend in a plunker bite?
In a plunker bite, changing your baits. Changing your baits frequently, watching. Okay, so it's bait placement too. Even a year ago when we did the Freedom trip, it had to do with the bait placement too. The first thing was dropping down the line size. Once I got the line size down, I was using a back hook, which I don't use a lot, but I used, and all of a sudden I was bit every cast. So, making those changes, you can't get stubborn about, I caught them like this last year. Well, that was last year, folks. Today's today, and you got to change with, the scenario. Sometimes by the hour, I've seen that. In running boats, we've had that blessing and being able to seeing those bites where things will change just in a period of a bite. So you make those adaptations. Now, obviously, the whole key to getting the fish tighter around in a tighter radius around the boat is getting them on heavier line. With that lighter line, you got to remember they're going to be taking out drag. They're going to be at a further diameter away from the boat. So as they're circling, that with the lighter line, they're going to be filtered outside a lot more than if you had them with heavy line. You keep them tight to the boat. So when you're chumming, even if you miss one on you get short bit or something, generally you can go right back out with a fresh bait and get nailed again because you're already keeping those fish in a tighter perimeter around the boat. So that has a lot with it. But a plunker will have to do with sizing down your hook size, light line, lighter lines, fluorocarbon, every little thing you can do, folks. Every little thing you do. But bait placement and a good bait is going to be always a key in a touchy bite.
All right, great advice because there are so many plunker bites right now, Danny.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Gregory Wilson says, don't look up there. What do you call it when you gaff a Dorado?
These guys are coming up.
I love these guys. They're going to have to start writing for our shows. A golden retriever. I like that one too. Dorado in Spanish is gold.
Wow.
Golden. So that's a good one,
You guys
Gregory.
are on fire tonight.
Man, I like this
Keep
guy.
it coming.
These guys
That's
are
right.
awesome.
Keep it coming. That's great. That's great. That's it.
Patrick up there in Montana says, on a lighter note, any idea on plans for 5-day trips nowadays? So I'm going to find out in another week. I'm on the Independence on October 20th. Like, what does a typical 5-day do now? Bluefin grounds, 5 days. You used to go to Cedros and occasionally Guadalupe Island. Now you can't fish
And
those
those
things.
are all they're out of the question now.
So what do you do on a
So
5-day? Fish that big bluefin?
fish the big bluefin, chances are good. And I'd say, oddly enough, my 8-day early in June,
Right.
my 8-day was put back to a 5 because the weather was really nasty. As much as I wanted to get down to the rocks because there was some big yellows down there, you got 2 days of running to get down there and 2 days coming back into the area. So you got 4 days of travel. We cut it down to a 5-day, and we fished and killed fish every day. It was unbelievable, and you can get up on the banks. Tanner and Cortez get great yellowtail fishing at a certain time, and I think you're seeing more and more of that now. But just the diversity of fishing in the fall is going to be awesome. If you get anchored on the bank, right on the bank, up on the banks, you're probably going to have pretty good yellowtail fishing, like I said, with steady bluefin fishing too. And you just don't know. I mean, the Dorado and everything else, they're pelagic. They're moving around. So, when you run into them, you run into them. But, yeah, the opportunity to catch fish is certainly phenomenal. And it's just, it'll get better till everything chills out completely.
My buddies down there in Ensenada, they have a panga kind of operation down there called Blackfin. And he said, hey, we went out, made a left-hand turn, went down to the lower 500, the Peanut Bank down there, found 66 to 68 degree water, and boom, 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 yellowfin. Man, we were catching YFT. So that's something.
And they're not little ones. They're
No,
not
they're
footballs
nice.
either. These are nicer fish from what I've seen.
25,
Yeah,
40,
those are
like
beautiful
that,
fish. That's
right?
beautiful fish.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, maybe you go out and fish the bluefin, maybe you go south and catch some yellowfin.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, hey, let's do a rock cod drop. I know a lot of people aren't into that, but I certainly am. There's still quite a few options
We
available.
do that. We'll finish off a trip like that. When we did that even years ago, when we were coming up the line, we'd always pull in to call an ad or something and make drops and let everybody take home a nice bag of rockfish. And that's also, it's different, and it's different eating fish than a yellowtail or tuna or anything else. But yeah, that's part of it.
Steve wants to know, Danny, how many yards of mono do you spool on each of your reels?
It depends on the line size, okay? And, I have to have different sets of reels now for fishing locally and for some down below. When I'm on my longer trips, you get so spoiled in throwing shorter top shots of mono and almost all Spectra. In fact, some of them I use Spectra to fluorocarbon, because in a longer rod, I'm making a long cast, and the bites are generally less touchy down there. The minute it hits the water and your bait goes down, it's nailed. And so I just do, top shot of a shorter top shot of fluorocarbon to straight Spectra, But I found out when you're fishing competitively amongst a bunch of boats and everything else, like we did last year with, up at Cortez, when you're fishing with a lot of their captains, you have to have a longer length of mono too, because the bluefin become real bluefin again. They've got the best eyesight, and you're going to need that longer length plus the fluorocarbon, smaller hooks, to get you into the game. So it's things like that you have to make your adaptions, on the spot. And fortunately, I had a little heavier outfit, my 30 pound, and thank God they ate the 30, because they're all at that one point, I started hanging, these larger fish. And so even on the 30, and they wouldn't eat 40, so it gave you a little better chance to land some of those nicer units.
Hey, Danny, it's pretty nice down here at 22nd Street to see, like, on a Thursday in October. You might think they'd roll up the sidewalks and say goodnight. Well, I think there's the Pride's leaving tonight, the Freedom's leaving tonight,
See, that's
maybe the Amigo, I'm not sure.
That's so awesome.
Pretty exciting,
That's
right?
so awesome. I think they bugged us last week. I loved it out there. It was awesome.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
the view and everything else. The only thing we had was we got chewed a little bit by mosquitoes.
Yes, but you had the mosquito
I had the
spray.
mosquito. Yes, and
You
who
saved
knows
the
where
day.
that came from? Yeah, I was sitting in the back of the Sequoia, but yeah, that's for the mammoth trips.
But yeah, it's great to see this still going on, right?
Yeah.
All right, Mark says, hey, Phil and Danny, going on the Grande tomorrow. 25 pound and 30 pound seems to be the hot ticket. What do you think about adding the smallest 1/8 ounce sinker to get below anger line traffic when fly lining? And by the way, that is Mark's hat. The gentleman that's asking that question, his beautiful design. I'm not sure if those are
that's
available at 22nd Street,
That is
but
cool.
there they are. Beautiful, huh?
Yeah,
What
that's
do you
awesome.
think?
Yeah, cool.
What do you think about a little sinker on there, like an 1/8 ounce,
you
or a
know,
stay fly lining?
I would stay fly lining and change the placement of the hook. Whether it's butt hook, that's you're gonna have to figure that one out, and that's more of a trial and error. But change the hook placement. Generally, I used to do a butt hook with bluefin. Now, it seems like, to be honest with you, I'm getting more and more into fishing the back hooks, and I think it's because they're not seeing the fluorocarbon in the mono because it's up higher. Whereas if it's diving down and you got the trailing line underneath, I think they see it a little bit better. I don't know. It's just my observation, and it was very consistent. When I was fishing with a bunch of guys that they're all great fishermen, but maybe I just got lucky. Really lucky. But that seemed to be more consistent is having that back hook, so the line's above up on top. So.
One thing I saw work on our trip on a couple of occasions, and we never had a ripper bite, so it's hard to gauge, but like a smaller, shinier jig that a guy would sink down deep and wind down and you get bit, So we're talking the Daiwa Sakana, like 100 gram, or a Colt Sniper,
yeah,
or whatever your
yeah.
favorite jig is out
Yeah.
there. But that sometimes works.
Sure.
Even when
sure.
Buzz Briz and I used to tell me, you see all this fish boiling around here, and you see all this fish, that's the tip of the iceberg. The main body of fish. Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. Buzz wasn't lying to me.
No, Buzzy's too good of a fisherman. He's not going to let you do that.
He's too good of a person, too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So sometimes it's counterintuitive. You see all that action on the surface, but sometimes sinking a jig, Mark, that might do you some good.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the thing is, folks, whatever you're utilizing, if it's not working, try something new. Be the first guy to get them on a jig. Be the first guy to get them on something different, But if you're sitting still doing the same old thing time and time again, it's not successful. That's the definition of insanity. Thinking that it's going to change. It's making those changes, trying different things. And be the innovator. Be the first one to get bit in a different mode, and but trying different things and figuring it out is where it's at for any kind of fishing. Doesn't matter.
To drive your point home, Tom Rothery, this must be 20 years ago, he told me a story about, just to illustrate your point. He said he was in a good wahoo bite, and all of a sudden it completely backed off. Everybody was doing the same thing. He said he would purposely go down and try something entirely different and get bit right away, and then he'd tell everybody, hey, switch to this, and then boom, they get bit again. It's almost like the fish adjust to the thing, and I don't know, do they figure it out like, hey, all our friends are disappearing?
Of course you want to get them on the iron, you want to get them on the bombs, you want to get them on something that's fun. But when they come through and they start slashing bait, sometimes maybe just a cut piece of bait, just fly line sinking at a normal sink rate.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not as smart as you think they are.
Right. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, and you just have to adapt. And once again, it's the guys that try it out. But make sure when you're on the boat, your eyes have to look out. As a captain, I'm looking here all the time, and then up to the bow and up the sides, because you have to recognize that. Because the minute you recognize that, I would tell them, hey, switch over to this, do that. Do it. There's things that we see, that if you see that trending, the faster you get into it, the quicker you're going to get bit. So listen to the crew, listen to the captains. They're there every day, so that's my best advice too, is to listen to what they're doing. They're dealing with it, and they see what's working every day,
Perfect. Kim Herbert is watching from Valdosta, Georgia.
Wow.
It's great to be traveling and
Cool.
still visit with you guys. Kim, Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. How cool that he takes
That
the
is
time
so
to
awesome.
tune in.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
what time? It's like 9, 10 o'clock there now.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God, you're in Bass Country. Yeah.
Kim, thank you so much. And stay with us tonight. We'd love to field some more questions from you. Jeremy says, good evening. Patrick Harnjack is back. Danny, what is your go-to 30-pound setup reel? Favorite smaller reel for local fish?
Well, I use it for pretty much everything, but I've gone to Accurates, the Valiant 500s, and with 30-pound on up, everything of mine is two-speeded. But that has to do with my age, folks. But it also gives me a little edge, you know.
Accurate's a great product.
It's a great product.
And I
They
love
fly
the
light,
boys over
awesome.
there.
Oh yeah,
I've known the
yeah,
boys for
yeah. And
30 years.
I used to fish with Benny a lot back in the old days
Yeah.
too. But no, Jack was a super guy.
Super great guy.
Absolutely nice.
There wasn't a nicer man.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
And as far as machining out a fine reel, Phil, you saw that's all I used, on our trip on
Right.
the Freedom, and
Yeah.
and to get that magnitude and that size of fish out of a reel that's this big, it's a smaller reel, but thank God it had that button. That made all the difference. There's no way I could have landed those fish. I could have, but it would take even twice as long.
Yeah.
I was getting killed, being on them that long. But when you have that button, it makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Did you see the guy? I did a short on a guy, old school Bill. Did you happen to watch that?
No.
Yeah, and he was straight mono, fishing like with old stuff. And I go, Bill doesn't need no stinking 2-speed. And then I looked at him, he could hardly turn. I go, oh, maybe he does. And he laughed about it, but he did really good using the old
that's
stuff.
good.
But
That's good.
he was getting his butt kicked.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
the technology with the quicker recoiling graphite, the Spectra, the lighter, sharper hooks that will get bit better because they are lighter and it's strong. All these little things add up, and it makes a difference at the end of the day. When you total what you've got up, it will give you an edge in the long run. But I'll tell you, that button on the side, that's a game changer. That changes it, and all you got to do is keep it down at that angle on the rail, and you could review that old Freedom. You have it.
Yeah,
probably-
Legends of Sport Fishing. Yeah. I'll post it
and
tomorrow.
You could see my rod never leaves this angle. That's because I'm getting maximum pressure. Well, maximum pressure would be pointed at it, but it's as much pressure as you're going to get on a 30-pound rod. You're going to take the max out of it. It's to the point with at that angle with two of the lighter hooks I used prior, I straightened them out, and then I went to have to go to a 4X hook, but at that point, you're going to have chew throughs because these are bigger fish on light line. There's a lot of different things that are involved, but I wouldn't have caught what I caught without having all those advantages. So it made a big difference, folks.
Yeah, that is for sure. Good stuff. Hey, hit that like button, everybody. Lots of people watching tonight, Danny. They absolutely love the show. We really appreciate when you hit the like button, you share, and don't forget we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok every single day. We have updates there. We have shorts. Danny was just mentioning his outstanding performance on that trip. He won't say that, but I will. And you can watch all kinds of fishing videos and instructional videos. Danny's going to be doing more freshwater bass here in the very near future. We feel really honored to have not only such a knowledgeable person, but such a good person here on Friedman Adventures. That's all you, Danny. All right, let's see. We've got some more stuff here. Oh, shoot. We've got so much more that I got to jump up here and scan backwards for a second. Let me do that. Yeah, right. I mean, here we go.
Hey,
I love
we're
it.
hanging in there. Don't worry, folks. We're going to answer all your questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't
We're
worry.
not going anywhere. Jamie Argent says, hi,
Okay.
Danny, and hi, Philip. Jamie, always great to hear from you, my friend. Jeremy says, I always forget mosquito spray and get bit up like crazy. We would have been screwed without
Oh,
you.
my God.
I couldn't believe
I had 2 cans. I don't even know how old they are, but they worked. 2 different brands, too, but they worked.
Yeah,
and they saved us.
Yeah, I had. I don't know if I told you. I didn't get bit by any mosquitoes, but I had to have my ankle amputated. I don't know if I told you that. Hey, Rick Slater says, "Hi, can you tell me about cedar plugs? Plain wood color and a white red-eyed feather jig. Trying your carnivore diet. Tired of eating steak. Rick, hang in there. It gets better. You'll get used to it. Just hang in there. It's going to work for you, man. And if you need any help, just give me a call. Cedar plugs, I
Cedar
know
plugs.
that. Yeah, go ahead.
They've been around forever.
Yeah,
you
right?
know? Sometimes they thought just the lead on the thing was the thing that caused it. But I mean, the plain wood. And then they got fancy. I mean, we had custom paint jobs on them and everything else. And I think it's just the way it moves in the water, the way it kicks around. You got a single hook, so it's spinning. The line goes through the cedar plug, so you have a little more movement there. So it's a little different. God, yeah,
Did you drag cedar plugs when you were running the Mustang
we
ever?
did at times.
Yeah.
We did at times. Yeah. It. God, we had. I mean, you have everything rigged up. My crew and they would never stop trying different things, and that's the beauty of that too. It's for us as a crew member. You guys are dragging 80-pound line. You know, and we weren't using back in those days. We didn't have fluorocarbon, but 80-pound mono, and you're dragging it back about the second wake, third wake. I like trolling close. There were times that we had I think it was oh God, a 5-fathom line with a 4-pound sinker, so it's real tight to the boat. Well, what I liked about that albacore fishing is the tighter you have it to the boat, we got a better bite because you get bit and it's right there and it's 30 feet away. You yell hook up and that bait goes on those fish, and if the kids put a scoop on them, and you get the a much bigger, larger chunk of the school. If you're trolling way back, you hook a fish. By the time you get the boat stopped, you're going to lose a big segment of that school. Because it's hanging back. I mean, if you're leading them and hitting with bait very, steadily and then hit them with a scoop, once you're stopped, you have a great chance of, getting the meat. But, I like the short boat lines, the short trolling stuff. Even when I'd hold a rod and reel, and troll with it, I would keep it tighter than everybody else. Because, contrary to popular belief, you're running over the fish aren't swimming up from behind and grabbing it. So if you're the first one they see, guess what? You're going to
Makes
get
sense.
hammered. And you're going to be more of the backwash and everything else. So, your jig isn't seen as clean as it is in the clean water further back too. So that's just my belief, folks.
All right, sounds good. Halibut Man, a.k.a. Mitchell, says that old school Bill could have used a 2-speed reel. That is for sure. Even just a small 2-speed International 30 or Speedmaster makes a huge difference. When do you push the button, Danny? You said it makes a big difference when you push the button. When is it appropriate to push
I
the
do
button?
it when it's pretty much when it's up and down, when I get it in the circle,
So
Because if it's outside and if that fish swims at you in low, you can't pick up the line fast enough. You have to have it at a higher speed to pick up the line. But when it's up and down, you got that thing in a circle, you definitely want that button in. And you want to keep maximum pressure with the low angle on the rod. You want to implement every one of those things. To have a 2-speed and have the rod up here when you're getting 1/10 of the pressure that you are down here makes no sense, even with the 2-speed. So it's correlating both the rod angles and the 2 speeds, the spectra, everything. Everything has to be coordinated perfectly to get you to maximize your lifting efforts.
Good stuff. Patrick Harnjack up there in Montana says, do you guys remember your first tuna? What species was it? Did you eat the heart? What age were you? Danny?
Well, all those years, running the boat and, when the guys got their first tuna, I'd always hear yelling and screaming in the back when they got a guy eats their first heart, right? So I can remember kids coming up in the wheelhouse and he's got blood all over his face and he
Yeah.
ate his first heart, you get hear all his people in the charter that he fished with, celebrating and everything else. And so the kid would come up in the wheelhouse and say, hey, Captain, when did you eat your first heart? I go, well, I still haven't yet. They kind of look at me and I go, no. I said, you fell for that? But no,
Do
it's
you
fun.
remember your first tuna?
I remember tuna, but I
No,
never,
I mean
I never
the
did.
circumstances surrounding the first fish tuna you
Oh,
ever
yeah.
caught.
Yeah.
What was it?
Oh, it was an albacore.
Uh-huh.
You know,
You remember
And
the boat or any of
it was a
that?
champ.
Uh-huh.
It was. I think we were fishing. I was fishing on a champ.
Yeah.
But no, I actually, God, I have to go back further, but I can't remember.
And how old were you?
I was in my early teens, I think.
Yeah.
At that point. Yeah. Yeah, because up until a certain time, we fished a lot locally.
Right.
Up in the channel. I got my yellow when I was early. When I was 5. But I mean, when it came out shore, going down to San Diego, I was a little bit older.
Yeah, yeah. Got fans yelling in the door. Did you hear that?
Awesome.
Love you guys on YouTube, man. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Can't do it without you folks.
That's right,
Yeah.
100%. Hit that like button, my friends. Don't forget to keep Captain Eddie Leland in your thoughts and prayers.
Absolutely.
Super important right now, my friends. He's not doing well. So do that, and let's go. Oh, I guess I should answer that question. I was about 12, 13, Redondo Special, bluefin tuna on 12-pound, something like that.
Yeah.
Number 8 hook, 6 hook. My brother caught one, same thing. I remember he actually caught one on a different time, and I remember I walked into the boat and he had blood in his braces, and he was eating the heart of a bluefin also. So yeah, and it was, if I had to tell you the weight, I'd say 12, 15 pounds, something like that. Not big, but
what we used to catch locally.
just cool catching one on a half-day
absolutely.
boat out of Redondo.
Oh my God,
Right?
that was big game.
Yeah.
That was really big game back in those days.
Yeah. Patrick, great question. Tyler says, good evening, Friedman Adventures family. Tyler, you are the man. Phil, what boat makes the best breakfast burrito? That's a good question,
Go for
Tyler.
it. I mean, I've had some good ones over
well,
the
I
years.
don't eat them anymore, so I'm on the carnivore thing. I see guys. There was a guy, I can't remember his name. He used to be on I think his name was Mark. If anybody out there remembers this guy. Mark, he was kind of a big guy. He was on the Redondo Special, and then I believe he ended up over there on the Gale Force. I think he passed away. If he didn't, Mark, forgive me. Geez, Danny, these things must have weighed 12 pounds. And they were good. Really, really good, man. I see the breakfast burritos over there on the Amigo that Chef Jason made. I got to tell you, I can smell, I can see, and I had what was in the burrito on a plate. I can eat the meat and the cheese.
Yeah.
Not supposed to have the cheese, but once in a while I skimp and go keto. He had chorizo, fresh chorizo. He had the onions and the cilantro and all the stuff that makes it taste like you're eating off a taco stand in TJ.
We've come a long way, baby. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought we did good, back in those days. I remember working with George Mio and Henry Toshima, who was his galley guy. They had a very small grill. And his wife owned Gardena Bowl, which all of us, we'd all stop out there, between Yo's and Arts, everybody ate there,
Yeah.
And
I can't believe I've never been there.
Oh,
And
my God,
Bill
yeah.
Wilkerson, when he comes up here, he goes straight
goes
there
over
to eat.
Oh, yeah.
It's
been
still
around
good?
forever. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Still is,
What kind of food do they serve at Gardena Bowl?
Hawaiian, Japanese type. It's a fusion deal. It's a mix of everything you like. It could be mixed with anything, But it's awesome stuff. So I can remember Henry, his wife owned Gardena Bowl, the coffee shop there. But he would come and he would make fried rice and make Portuguese sausage and stuff like that for the crew. But he didn't do it for the passengers.
Yeah.
But they had a small grill on the Hustler, so it was a little tougher. On the Mustang, I had a grill that was like this. And so when I got it from Taco, what was tough was, in the old days, you had to get up early. The galley guy'd have to get up early in the morning, put on sausage, bacon.
Oh, yeah.
And you had to put all this stuff on. You don't know what the people are going to eat, but you
Right.
have to have all that ready, right? But it would amount to a substantial amount of waste because not everybody would eat everything, So I said, oh, what the heck? I'm gonna try this. So I bought a 30-cup rice cooker. It's this big. We go out and get about 4 or 5 pounds of bacon, chop it up. I do the bacon fried rice, kind of Hawaiian style, So it's you chop up the bacon, you fry it down, drain off the oil, throw the rice on top, hit it with the soy sauce, the shoyu. Later on we use the Kikkoman Light, which was less salty. Scrambled up eggs, mixed the eggs into it. So you had the mix of the proteins, and then hit it with the garnish of green onions, diced up green onions.
Wow.
And It was a killer. And
People
if you
loved
wanted,
it?
oh my God, it was unbelievable. It changed everything. We were
Yeah.
the first ones to do that. You know, but the best part was you could do that all at one point. And instead of making individual breakfasts that stretched out to 11 o'clock, you could have all that thing done early in the morning, put it back in this 30-cup rice cooker, this big one, dole it out, and then do 2 fried eggs, throw it on top of the fried
You're
rice.
getting me
And
hungry.
yeah. But I mean, you know, we were the first ones to do it, and we did it mainly for our Buddha. We call it our Buddha head charters, right? But after a while, everybody wanted it, and it's changed. I mean, I think a lot of you guys that have gone in long range boats that have had any impact over the years, you may have had a fried rice breakfast one time, in the morning.
Yeah.
Because it's just like I said, for me, it was, it was all made up, and all. If you wanted to throw 2 eggs over on top later on, it was easy to do, but it was pre-made. You didn't have to do individual orders. So for me, it was, it knocked out our breakfasts in a couple hours as opposed to, for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, great.
And the diversity of all the different meats you had to stock and everything else was a pain.
Yeah.
So that worked out great. It was a good thing that is now pretty traditional on some of the boats.
Hey,
We have
you
breakfast.
remember how good the food was, by the way, on the Apollo?
Oh,
That kid that
was phenomenal.
He did a great
I
job.
couldn't believe how, folks, I think any of the boats now, I mean, they have definitely stepped up the games, and some of it's flat out gourmet. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it
You know,
is. There's
yeah,
no
it's just
doubt.
unbelievable.
Michael Lee says, what size split rings and hook size would you recommend for the 150 and 170 milligram poppers? I have no idea. Sam De La
I would,
Torre.
I would talk to Sam.
He'll be on Monday night, Michael.
I am huge on Spro. Spro Gamakatsu is tied in together, but the
Yeah.
Spro stuff that we tested out over the years is some of the absolute strongest. So I still to this day use a lot of Spro swivels. Yeah.
All right, Wild Willie says, good evening, Phil and Danny. Cedar plugs have always seemed to work really good. I know that Steve Oropesa from Promar was telling me they have a product, and I think it's a daisy chain with the cedar plug, and he said they had an anchovy pattern that was just getting annihilated. So that is definitely something you can look at promarahi.com.
Cool.
You can also get 10% off on any of your lobster gear if you put in Friedman 10 while you're over there at promarahi.com. Hey, I got to mention also, the El Patron is going tonight, and they have several more trips here, and fishing is great. The El Patron had limits of bluefin tuna today on an overnight trip. Just keeps going on and on and on. And you can get on the El Patron by calling the landing here. Make sure you bug Mike Morrison when you call. 310-832.
What a nice guy.
8304. The El Patron running out of here. And if we see him back in here, maybe we'll grab who's ever on there.
Oh,
and
that'd be cool.
Get a comment. They
Well,
can sit down and
how do
talk to
you
you.
beat that? I mean, come on, folks. It's October, and we're getting them in our backyard here. Come on, folks.
Pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
Naughty Boy 78, great show, guys. Tell us an old story about Yo. I wonder if his kids would be interested in being a guest on the show. Some relative, I spoke yesterday at the South Bay Anglers Club,
Yeah.
and there was a relative of his there, and he mentioned Yo. So I went into my story about Yo. Do you have an old story about him? Or?
I've got a bunch.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to charter the Mustang, so I mean, amongst others, but it was, and for us, there was a lot of pressure because I lived in Gardena, and I would try to keep the peace and go see all the other tackle shops, and Terry Randall and the guys at Arts, which was down the street, and Russ Iser was right next to them back in the days on Gardena Boulevard, But Yo was the main stop. I lived basically across the street for years when I was running the Mustang, and so here's a trip, unbelievable trip, okay. So Yo always got the prototypes from Leon because it was just straight down the street on Western, right?
Talking Leon Todd from
Leon
CalStar.
Todd from CalStar.
Right.
But back in the Sabre days or whatever,
Yeah.
But so there was added pressure on me too. And Ruthie happened to be there, and all the kids out of the shop and everything. And we get into a Plunker bite on Albies, but at the same time, every now and then we'd hang a big eye. Well, we're into this bite, and He's got a prototype rod that actually I think it was Ruthie hooked the fish, but Yo ended up having to finish this thing off. Well, we didn't finish it off. We were on it a long time. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God. His crew out of the shop, first time I've ever seen it, it's like a indie race. They would have new side plates with new drags ready to go. And you know how it is on a jig master. You just unscrew it, pop it, poop. Well, they poop, change it, fresh drags. They're unbelievable.
That's
you know.
crazy.
But
It's
anyway,
like the Indianapolis 500.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
What it was like, but now it's getting late. I'm going, oh my God. And I was at Atlantia at the time. I'm going, oh jeez, we're running late. And I mean, generally with most groups, you just have to say, you know what, we're going to give you so many minutes, and we're going. So you either get it or break it off. I made the mistake because I used to go in there all the time. He was chartering our boat. I stayed. The kids in his shop are going up in the wheelhouse, and they're tracking his tuna on the sonar. Oh, it's 45 feet down, blah, 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 blah. You can see it, on the sonar. We'd get the blip on it. Well, we hit the dock an hour and a half late, Phil. And my group that was waiting at the dock was fuming. And I don't blame them. This was my fault. This is on me. And we ended up losing that fish. And it was not that far away, but we ended up losing the fish, but we were a couple hours late. So they're fuming, and I can't blame them. That's a bad call on my point, on my part to let it go that far. But because it was him, I did. And I lived a few blocks away from there at the time. Only this guy, God, saved my behind. So we're late, we get our bait, we're out. All I see is tail lights. I'm seeing stern lights from everybody. We're way behind the fleet. And that night, those fish moved in 20 miles, and we were in the heart of them, and we killed them. And
Yeah, there you
thank you,
go.
Lord. But that was a freaky deal. That was a freaky deal. And I was very lucky that happened, by accident. But I mean, it was a mistake on my part to let it go on that long. But by luck, and maybe a higher power, we killed them. We highlined it the next day. But it's one of those, and that's fish. That's fish. A lot of times they feed heavy before they move, but they're going to make another move into a different area. So you'll get a tremendous bite the day before, in a different area, and then next day, you have scales and blood in the water, and the fish have moved, So it was just one of those things. Or we were running over them every day, not even knowing they were there.
Yeah.
Because we weren't even putting the jigs in at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
So that could be a number of different things there.
Your higher power
But
leading
just
you
know.
to the right,
Exactly.
to the mother lode, right?
Yeah, thank you.
I love it. Naughty boy, I'm sorry, Daniel Leanos saying hello, and it's good to hear from you. Kim
Awesome.
Herbert, who's in Georgia. Danny, do you know anyone who restores the chrome trolling jig heads with the red jeweled eyes, wanting to make a display case? That sounds bitching, Kim.
Oh my God, I don't know who does the plating or anything anymore.
We can look around.
Yeah, you probably, but you know what? I would put those in the case,
As
beat
is?
up, and they're when the feathers are gone, it's chewed out, they're faded, the head's got teeth marks on it. I think that tells more of a story. There's a jig that actually worked.
Yeah.
And worked well. So, but yeah, if you're going to do that, yeah, you can source and find a new one somewhere if you want to keep that. But restoring the chrome and stuff, yeah, I mean, I would just buy a new one, But put your veteran jig that was all chewed up, I'd put that in the case too. Yeah.
All right, Patrick says he remembers the 5-pound like giant egg sinker on a rope, zip tied to the back of the boat. Was just a feather or a teaser, or did you put hooks in those? Were you hand lining the fishing? Yeah, those were boat lines. That was
they were
tuna
boat lines.
cord.
Yeah.
And
We had a
there's
double
nothing
hook.
more fun than hand lining a boat line,
There's
right?
nothing like it. There's
Right?
nothing like it.
There's only one thing better that when the boat line doesn't get bit and you're pulling it and then it gets bit while you're pulling it.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I got a funny story. One year, we got into a bunch of big guys, not knowing they were in the area. We got into them, and I had a crew member. His name was Mark Brandenburg, and Mark was a big, tall guy, and we get jig bit, and he's doing one of these. I'm going, hey, hand over hand, just bring it on, throw it on. He's doing one of these. It was a big eye, and I had to say, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but yeah, it was amazing.
his
We
hands
had to
full.
gaff it. Yeah, yeah,
That is cool.
yeah. But yeah, that's how it's done, folks. And the nice part about the boat line fish is generally if the boat line fish hit, we had them short, and we were able to get the bait on them right away. It usually was a awesome bait bite too, because these things are already tight to the boat, and so yeah, boat lines are extremely effective. Yeah.
Cue ball, lots of applause for you, Captain Danny from Cue Ball. David Rosenthal, good evening, Phil and Danny, listening on my drive home in the car. David, you are the man. Thank you so much, man.
Awesome.
Always good to see you. We need to get you down here to show off some of your product on one of our shows for sure. Cue ball. I just took my best friend's son out 2 weeks ago for his first bluefin. Hearts were eaten. Mission accomplished, says Cue ball. That's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I still haven't eaten one, but awesome. You fell for that. Okay, cool. No, never mind.
You know what's funny about that? There was a guy that caught one on board the Fortune. Rick Russell was running the boat. And the guy takes a bite. Rick's standing there with the gaff, and the guy takes a bite, and then I go, aren't you going to share that with the captain? And Rick Russell looks right in the camera, and he says, disgusting. I'd never eat that thing. So I think, yeah, you're right.
I didn't tell that till later. Yeah.
Yeah, right? That's so funny. Hey, Steve says, what made the albacore bite so hot back in the day?
You know, they were there in numbers, abundance of chovy, which is their favorite bait. Just the conditions were conducive for them. You know, blue water, 60s, low 60s to mid 60s. And, there's any number of things. Although we've seen them in warmer water too and colder water. You just have to take it as it comes. We're just, when you got them, you got them. So I didn't care whether it was hot or warm. If they were going to eat it, and they were in the water, that's what we targeted. But yeah, it seems that things cycled with the cooler. You got them with the cooler water.
Mitchell, Halibut Man wants to know, favorite fish in the ocean, Danny, whether it be to catch or just the coolest looking fish.
I love, because of bass fishing, I love throwing the baits, the swim baits and things like that. So when you got like the dive with these SK minnows and stuff like that we're throwing down at the Bay of Los Angeles, getting big cabria, to me, that's one of my favorite things of all. They pull hard and they taste unbelievable.
Yes.
One of the best eating fish you could ever get, But yeah, that's one of my very favorites, because they pull. They pull and they they hit that lure with a vengeance too, so that's a blast.
One of my favorites, and it's not a lot of guys like in the business will go, oh, you suck, what's your problem? But I actually love marlin fishing. Especially when you can toss a bait out and get bit on a bait. They get all lit up, they get all fluorescent, they jump, they fight hard. Marlin fight pretty hard. I like catching those things. They're fun.
I remember catching one in the channel here
when
it was local.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty excited about catching one, because I've caught them with my uncle in Hawaii, and I remember being on them with the big 16 ounce.
Yeah, right.
And it was a lot of work, right? But the one we got here, I hooked it, and they go, get ready, it's going to jump. And it put its head up and went, the bill came out and went about this speed, too, not slashing. And I pretty much just ground them in. And I go, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I've had enough marlin.
You must have caught one.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I've never been real big on
a lot of guys are
You're
not.
either a big marlin guy and that's all you do, or
Yeah. I'm definitely not that.
take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's huge? Tom Durr says that's his favorite fish. He loves He's won the Gold Cup a few times.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
No, I remember when he was out there fishing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he had the landing. Yeah.
In fact, was it you that called him out there once? Or
We were there a lot because we ran out of the landing at
Yeah.
the, at the
then
time.
you
So
called him once
we
and you had a
kept just-
marlin off your bow or something. He came out and caught it, didn't he? Or
That's what he loved that.
Yeah.
He loved that. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Obviously, I like halibut a little too much. That's why he's called Halibut Man. Halibut are cool fish too. Patrick Hornjack up there in Montana. Patrick, great question. Have you ever been on a boat as a captain or passenger and been boarded by Mexican Navy? Story. I got a few of those myself.
Not been boarded, but we've had them pull alongside. But they were cool. They were cool. We used to see them every now and then in Guadalupe or down at Cedro. So you'd run them there, but they were always very cool.
Yeah.
I'd rather run into them than a drug runner.
Oh, heck yeah.
So no, it was a good thing.
We got boarded on my brother's bachelor party, which we had on, I believe, what was the name of that yacht? Michael Folks, who many people know.
Oh, yeah.
He was running that yacht.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll be
And
dang.
we were on there and we got boarded and a couple guys were really terrified. My brother and I had lived in Mexico, so we spoke Spanish and everything. And it was, no big
Yeah,
deal. They
yeah.
walk on, they got guns and blah, blah, blah. Anywhere you go in Mexico, those guys have guns. But I'll tell you one, and this wasn't a boat. But we were in Loreto, and we were actually down a little south there at Puerto Escondido. And we were fishing on this pier that they had. And it was cold and windy. It was wintertime. And one of these idiots that we were with, I can't even remember who it was, he kind of, I don't want to say broke into, but he just kind of jarred this door open. And it was just a door to a structure on the pier. There was nothing inside it. It was like an abandoned, so he kind of,
Yeah.
and he went in there to get out of the wind. Well, the federales show up, and now all 18, there was like 18 of us. We conned everybody into jumping on a bus with us and TJ and going down to Laredo.
Yeah.
We're all huddled up, and these guys are playing hard, they're playing hardball in the beginning. Pretty soon, my brother and I, we were talking to them, and hey, you guys want, we got some beer here. Oh, sure, And, hey, you guys want some potatoes? And so they're all eating potato chips. But now they're talking to my brother and I. We're the only guys who speak Spanish, and the translation is going. The guy'd say like, "Hey, what do you guys do in the United? What's your favorite sport?" And then I turn and say, "He said that we'll probably have to do a year in jail, but if we behave ourselves, maybe 9 months." And I say, "Oh, baseball and whatever." These guys are absolutely ready to. And we kept it going and going and going.
my
Like,
God.
oh, he says that you broke into the building. You're going to stay 5 years in La Mesa Penitentiary. But, if you have some money, you can knock it down to 4.5
Oh, the
years.
old payola
These
deal.
poor guys.
The old payola deal. Cough it up, guys.
Anyway, they were like at the very end, hey, thanks you guys. We left them with a bunch of food and everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
So it was pretty funny. So yeah, I've definitely been boarded a few times. Cue ball, them Buddha heads know how to eat fish. LOL. That's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Well, when you live on an island, no matter where the island you're at, you learn to eat seafood. I mean, my wife's family's from a little island, Ischia, outside of Naples, and they ate nothing but seafood, too. So, yeah, it all depends, your proximity, too. And certainly Hawaii and Japan, all those other places, yeah.
Do you know the people at Gardena Bowl?
Yeah, the people now, I don't know. We have gone there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the original owners,
So Tyler says, Phil, you got to go to Gardena Bowl with Danny sometimes. It's a local favorite and classic. Would go as a kid when I visited
Oh,
my
yeah.
grandparents who lived on Dinker Avenue.
Oh yeah, but I'm sure, and the
We
food
should
is
go and
still-
shoot an
Yeah,
episode
we should.
there.
We should. It has a lot of history. I mean, that's my God. I think I told you the stories when we dock here at 22nd Street, and a lot of times we were late coming in, and the first thing we do is scrub the boat, and all the kids would go and walk the docks, go catch bass and stuff like that. This is when it's late, but Gardena Bowl at that time was open till 1 o'clock in the morning, and I can remember wanting to make sure we leave here about midnight at least, so we can get over there to eat. That was a priority,
Yeah.
especially for me. And so anyway, we get over there. The other part was like when Brian was working at Kiyohara, he was 14. He couldn't even drive. His mom would drive him down on Friday and then pick him up on Sunday. So to bring him to Gardena, and his mom would pick him up there after we all ate. It shortened up the ride for him too.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing. But it was the food. It really was the food.
It'd be cool to
The
go shoot
fried
an
rice,
episode there.
yeah, the Portuguese sausage.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You're right, because I can
Right?
tell you all the, all the U's, the arts, and most of the fishermen all went in there. Everybody, that was part of it. But Henry, the galley guy on the new Hustler, his wife was the one that owned it originally, Ethel.
I would
So
love. I don't know
that's
how I
huge. It
missed
does
that.
have some history there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I got the fried rice from.
Oh, right,
Idea
right.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love
Yeah.
it.
That does have history.
Jeff Yeomans, 540 Slingers Club, says hello, Phil and Danny. Jeff, it's been way too long since I've seen you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. David Alcantar, Oat from the Aztec cooks up meals better than I've had at higher end restaurants.
I think you're going to see that with almost, not all, but most of the operations now. They've really stepped up that game in the galley. I mean, for us back in the day on a 2-day trip, we did steaks and baked potatoes, and we thought that was it. But now, holy smokes. I mean, you talk about straight full-on gourmet on almost all the meals now. It's just phenomenal.
100%. Hey, don't forget, December the 2nd is our Christmas party at the Redondo Rod and Gun Club. You'll be able to hang out with Danny Kadota, have a great meal. You'll be able to sit on Santa Claus's lap. Who knows? Maybe Santa
Hey, the
Claus will
boys.
treat you to something. There'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
great
I
raffles.
love it over there. It's awesome.
Great
So much
fishing stuff.
history. Yeah.
That's going to be fun, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're playing around with all kinds of other ideas, but Danny will be there. I'll be there. A bunch of other fishing dignitaries are going to be there. It should be a lot of fun, and I hope you can make it. December the 2nd, Redondo Rod and Gun Club. All you have to do is go on Friedman Adventures Facebook page, and you'll see. All you got to do is sign up with us. If you're a Patreon member, you go free. Dinner's on us, the party's on us. You're going to be able to open one of the goodie bags down there. It should be really, really good. And I think it's going to be $15, and that's for a big dinner and all kinds of other great stuff. So I know you're going to enjoy it. Wild Willie, best dinner I had on a boat trip was back in the day on the new Tortuga 2. Mark, owner, captain, barbecue chicken and ribeye steak on an oak pit with baked potatoes. I'm never going to forget that, says Wild Willie.
That's awesome.
Man, we've opened the door to some good
Oh,
food
yeah.
stories
You guys
there.
make me hungry. Oh, man.
Albert Ponce, speaking of guys I haven't seen for a long time, and you kids, I miss you too. And Crystal, I hope you're doing good. Albert says, good evening, Phil and Danny and all the fine folks from the Friedman Adventures family. Albert, got to get together here one of these days. Dino, I haven't seen Dino for too long. Too many people, man. I guess I've been
Wow.
working too much, or they've been working too much. Dino says, good evening, Phil and Danny. Danny, back in the day when you fished San Diego reservoirs, did you get a chance to meet Big Bass Bill Murphy? I learned some top secret techniques from him. Rest in peace. So Bill is gone on it. Sounds like.
No idea. But Bill was pretty legendary on that stuff. But, coming from the sport fleet, we had all the captains, and it was very competitive, But you had the Sanson brothers, the Ray Monteros, Nick, I mean, Murphy, Bob Murphy. We not Bill Murphy, Bob Murphy. Who was, but there was so much competition. When I went to San Diego, we always stunk because those guys had all the spots. It's kind of like when they came up to Casitas and Castaic, we had the spots pretty well locked up. So I wouldn't get what I would consider my first pick on any of the spots. And so no, I never did personally. Never did much down there at all. Never got any big ones. Never got any over 10. But if you went a little further up the road, up to Vail, yeah, we did a number there. It was unbelievable. We had to set a couple of records there. But our forte was a little further north. But those guys in San Diego had it wired. When you're competing against San Diego skippers, and that's what we love to do on our days off. They were tough, and I had the blessing of fishing with a bunch of them. Don and Connie Sansom and Dave Williams, and a bunch of those guys. I wish I could have fished with Ray Montero, but Ray lived on Otay, and so you're not going to get a better fisherman than Ray when it came down to Otay and places like that. But they had it all dialed. The I call them the Southern Fleet guys. They all had San Diego dialed in. It was tough. I'd be lucky to get a poor second shot on a spot. So I mean, yeah, we focused more on the northern area, which was home for us.
Who's going to win the SC Notre Dame game, Danny? Are you an SC fan? You got to be an SC fan.
I used, yeah.
You used to be?
Yeah, I used to be big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Used to
more?
be big time. Well, no, I'm looking at a lot of different things. I'm kind of liking Colorado, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, they're definitely
I like
Showtime,
Sanders.
right?
Yeah, and he's got, there's winning ways, and some of the ways that he's doing it, I know that not everybody's into it, but I like what he's doing there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's not. It's taking a pro level deal, but it's taking more than that. I mean, he's got the experience, and he's not just done it in football, he's done it in baseball too, in different sports.
Yeah.
Track, he's one of the best athletes. But I think it's the mentality and the way he coaches them. I like that. And I'm rooting for him. I really am.
There is something about motivation and not being maybe the most gifted athletes. You can beat the most gifted athletes. Well, I mean, look at USA versus Russia back in the day, and
Yeah.
I can give a lot of other examples
Oh,
too.
absolutely. But it's good coaching, has a lot to do with it, and knowing how to drive guys.
Yeah.
And when you're a winner, you're a winner. There's a reason. There's things that he instills. So you don't see him berating and he handles it very professionally. There's a different way of going about it. But he's a world class winner when it comes to everything, and that's how he's doing it. And he's doing it through faith too, which is another thing that this world needs.
Yep.
That's another reason for it. Yeah.
David Petroy. Hello, Phil and Danny. David, it's good to hear from you, my friend. Danny, when using ringed hooks, what is your go-to knot?
I still use my Miller knot. There's a number of good knots to use, but most of those are really close to 100%. Obviously, in the old days, I would try to use a small hook when fishing bluefin, but now I would say the priority has to go with, rather than the smaller knot, and I'm talking about more using 12 and 15 pound and light line. Now, because of the size and the magnitude of the fish, I'm going to use a knot that's going to be virtually 100%. And it may take a little time, it might be a little bit bigger, but I want it to hold on. So yeah, I go with my old Joe Miller knot that I've been using for years. Yeah.
Cue Ball says, the tuna god smiled upon you. I forget what maybe Cue Ball's talking about, but yes, sir. Patrick Harnjack, Danny, do you think these bluefin were around like 30 years ago? You guys just didn't stop on them at night. Do you ever remember seeing sonar marks at night? Not 30 years ago, you didn't, right? Driving out to the albacore grounds?
You know what? And you're right. We wouldn't know. We wouldn't know. And that we did. I think we got the scanning sonars, and was it 81? That made a difference. But I'm almost thankful, because these poor kids on the cruise, on the boats, are working all day.
These poor guys.
It's such a long day, that these kids aren't getting sleep. We at least, we take night watches, and the kids would get somewhat of a night's rest. You still don't get that much rest, on a boat. But now, having these things bite all day, all night, that's a nightmare, for the poor crew. They are working their behinds off.
It's killing
them. My credit, my hat's off to them, folks. And that's why, when it comes down to taking care of them with gratuities, they're working basically twice as much as they did in the years past. Because I know on my trip on the Angler, we fished all day and all night. That's brutal. I don't care, even though we cut it back from an 8-day trip, we had more fishing than 5 days because we were fishing day and night, and they bit day and night.
Oh, God.
So it's brutal on the crew. So make sure you guys take care of the boys, man. They earn that.
Hey, hit that like button, everybody. Share these videos, and make sure you subscribe to Friedman Adventures. Dan and I really appreciate that very, very much. December the 2nd is our Christmas party. We'll see you at the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun
Club. I got to write that down. You have to remind me.
You darn right,
put it
man.
Down, scribble it in here.
Yeah. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Danny, here recently, the new Loanne backed into Point Loma sport fishing, 3-day trip, 50 fish from 130 to 197
Yeah,
pounds.
that was that the one with Urdomo and Bobby Gonzalez and those guys?
I think
they,
so.
yeah, I'm pretty sure those guys are killers.
God,
Those guys are great fishermen too.
what a hit.
Well, you got the combination of the crew, the boat, the skipper,
And the
the
anglers.
and the anglers.
Yeah,
And it doesn't get any better when it
That's
all
right.
matches up like that, folks.
but
You
that
you
kind
got
of
great fishermen.
that kind of a score 100 miles from San Diego is mind-boggling.
Absolutely. I mean, come on, that's epic. To get the magnitude of that size fish, But again, you've got, everything's lined up. The boat, the crew, the skipper, the fisherman. It's a win-win deal.
Yep, for sure. Patrick has a theory. He says he thinks the bluefin have been around a lot longer than the last 7 or 8 years. Nobody was targeting them. Do you think that's possible?
And we certainly didn't do it at night. We were too busy, sleeping, driving out to the grounds where, we get the daytime deal. But yeah, having and you got to remember too, you have a lot more multi-day trips than we did back in the old days. If you're a long-range boat, you weren't fishing these waters. You were boogieing on down. You're going down to the rocks. You're going down to Guadalupe. You're going to Cedros. You didn't do this. You didn't fish at night. When it came time to night, you slept unless you got a bite at San Martin or Cedros where you might get a sea bass bite or something like that. But yeah, we even Guadalupe we fished at night a little bit, but for the most time at night we slept. But now having that opportunity to fish at night's changed the game. It's all different. And think about your landing percentages now, because there wasn't a time when we were fishing all 80 to 130 pound line either, folks. Having these outfits with the 2 speeds and rail rods. So think about that, because that's helped a lot with the return, putting on the fish on the boat. That has a lot to do with that success too. It's a tackle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cue ball, I think he's referring to eating the heart. Was a tradition in the 80s when I started tuna fishing. Good fun.
Yeah, I still haven't had one yet, but it was fun watching them.
Jeff says, great show tonight, boys. He's talking to both you and I. Jeff, thank you, man. Appreciate you always being there. Scott Grant, another guy I haven't seen for a long time. Scott, I hope you're doing well. My friend, when did the Mexican tuna pens start? And do you think that's the reason we have bluefin tuna fishing now, due to escaped hatchlings of bluefin tuna? The bluefin tuna caught now are local and not from Japan. Thoughts, Danny?
I don't know to what extent, but when you get all when you get to the bait, the water conditions, everything else has just been conducive for it, And there was always that thing where they said they would migrate back to Japan and then come back. Well, there's no need for them to do that with the amount of sardine, squid on the banks, and the amount of feed that they have in all the local areas. There's no need for them to go across the ocean. It's all right here. And if you start thinking about how the commercial fleet gets their quota, and usually the first month or so, there's got to be an amount of tuna you can't even imagine. You start looking at it now, and you look at the sizes that we're seeing, they're only going to get bigger, Phil. That bluefin get up to, like, I remember seeing some of those 800 pounders and stuff that the seiners got.
Yeah, right.
When they're up in the Channel Islands.
I remember that.
We may see that. See that. So it's, who knows? We don't know. I think it will happen, but can you imagine that? And I got a funny story. I can remember being at Tanaka's shop, Taka's Bait and Tackle, and Taka were in there, and Taka had one of Katie's family. They had farms up there, but another farmer up there had a big 44 Pacifica, and they had it outfitted. They had all the best tackle on it, 14 O's, 16 O's, loaded with 200 pound and everything else, and big reels, and talking about how he was trolling, and he got spooled. And I can remember talking, I just kind of chuckling under our breath. He goes, I wonder if he knows that you pushed that lever forward, We had to apologize because that was that bunch of fish that they were getting in the Channel
that
Islands.
800,000 pounds.
800,000 pounders.
Yeah.
And I could see that. When it's deep, it's not that they can hit bottom and then bounce back up. I mean, they could just smoke you and
Yeah.
spool it. And that's what they did. So, we had to kind of eat a little crow and apologize,
Oh,
because
that's
it was,
funny.
yeah.
I was actually on a boat up there when that show was going on, and what was that guy's name? Chuck? A guy named Chuck that smoked a pipe? Does that ring a bell with you? And it was like almost like a long range boat. And he brought it up here, the Encore, not the Encore, I can't remember. He was real good friends with Carol Stock. You know Carol from Point Loma Sportfishing, worked at ticket office.
Yeah.
I think his name was
it'll come to
Chuck
me.
something, and
Yeah.
his signature was smoking a pipe, and we got to see those fish. Nobody even dared to try to hook one. We got to see them boiling around and everything. It was pretty cool.
I was running a school trip after we got back, and I was going down the channel, and I looked across the channel, and there was a 3/4 ton pickup. And I'm looking at the back, I'm going, what the heck is that? So I put the glasses on, and I go, holy smoke. So I go from the prison on that side of the channel straight across to the fish markets. And by that time, they're jacking this tail up, and you could see the boom, big steel boom doing this.
Wow.
And it was coming up and up off this 3/4, and you could watch that truck lift. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Amazing.
And that one was 800, and
Wow.
it was just unbelievable. And that at that time too, it changed a lot of things about the processing of fish. Before that stuff was going into cans. That stuff was all flown first class over to Japan and then from that point on, they started really delving into the way you prep and the way you spike them and the way
Yeah.
you bleed them out and everything
Yeah.
else. So it changed a lot of the way that we took care of the fish.
Yes.
Because now you're talking big money. It's not just cat food. Because at one point, that's all that stuff was.
Yeah, right.
Now it's big money that's getting flown over to Japan.
Yeah.
So yeah, it changed everybody's mentality on that. So that was a big change at that point too.
100%.
Yeah.
Rick Slater is back. Rick, great to see you. Did you have any trouble, Danny, fishing braid? I thought it was cheating. Always wanted the fish to have a chance. Big game green? Question mark?
No, I had the blessing of fishing the first prototype braid with Russ Iser. I remember fishing Kevlar when he was playing with Kevlar, but it was too abrasive. And then Russ first went to a 3-carrier and 4-carrier braid, which was pretty crude. And you still had to go back and forth and cross it so it wouldn't dig into the spool. So I had the honor and the blessing of fishing the very first prototype stuff. And I can remember everybody bad-mouthing it at the time. And even I didn't believe that it would have all the utility that we're utilizing it for now, And I have it on every reel, my trout reels, and everything up to the 100-pound, 130-pound, and 200-pound, and it's come a long ways. But so, once again, and I will always reiterate this, we have to thank Russ Iser for the foresight and the guy. He changed the game of fishing, and he came from right here, right there, right outside the door. So we've been blessed being around people like this, folks. But it's that mentality that our fishermen and our consumers like you guys all have. You're always thinking you're going to innovate, you're going to tweak it, make it better, and that's what drives us here. It really does. Keep going.
All right, good stuff. Current Jam says, during the day, how deep could these tuna be, Danny? My fish finder has a 600-foot max.
I don't know, but you're gonna have to you're gonna want to fish an area that you're gonna once you hook them, you're gonna have a little room to, let the fish run too, But I've seen drops to about that much, but I don't really winding them in with that much line down there. It's just not one of my favorite things, So, but they are where you find them. I mean, there's an old saying there, if they bite down there and if you can get bit down there, hey, fish them, go for it.
100%. Tyler Tanaka, who's such a great Friedman Adventures family member, says, come on, gang, smash that like button. Hey, we deeply appreciate it when you do that, my friends. hit that like button. Chet Young is over in Hawaii.
Oh my God, he's an old friend. What a great guy Chet
I
is.
keep
Yes.
missing with Chet. Chet,
Oh my
it's
God.
great to have you here. We were going to try to get together the other day, Danny.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get together. But
Well,
next
let's
time,
get him on here. Chet, we need you in here. Put a Thursday night, and we'll take you out and whatever. But plan on coming in to talk. I mean, we have some great stories. And Chet was one of the early guys when it came down to travel fishing trips.
Oh,
We
shoot.
went down to Cabo. We've been all over with him, but he was one of the great innovators of travel fishing, and destination fishing.
Oh, great.
So yeah, no, it'd be great. You guys are gonna love having Chet on.
Chet says, aloha, Phil and Danny. Danny, thanks for the birthday wishes on Facebook. Headed back to LA in a couple of weeks and going to try for a cow. Got a small 35-pounder with Jimmy Lou a few weeks ago. Got to get a big boy. Chet, we wish you all the best of luck.
Oh yeah, well, Chet, you're with the man. We call Jim. I mean, I fish with him. He fished on my boat every week, and what a blessing. I don't think you're going to find a fisherman as astute and as great as Jimmy Lou.
A
He
super
really
nice
is.
guy,
Oh,
too.
super nice guy. But I mean, he was one of the early technicians. Jimmy's probably about 110-pound sopping wet.
Yes.
And he was one of the guys first guys to get those 300-pounders on a single speed reel. So it has to do with his technique and everything else. But here's a perfect student of fishing, Phil. He fished with two different groups of mine on Sundays, okay? And every Sunday, I would go into his tackle box. He had it on the starboard side of the engine hatch on the Mustang. I would open it up, and in the right-hand corner, he'd have a new bait. Now, every week, 52 weeks, he had a new bait. How many students do we have like that? Not many.
Right.
Let me tell you what. And, over the years, he's a phenomenal, great fisherman. Like I said, 110 pounds wet, but he was one of the early guys to get the 300-pounders on a single speed, So it's all about technique, but we also have some legendary stories about him. So, Chet, when you come in, make sure you remind me. We're going to tell the Jimmy Lou catfish stories. And I have pictures. I'll bring the pictures in where Phil, we talked about that, didn't we, once with Jimmy's?
Yeah,
Did
we
talk about
did.
that? How
Yeah.
we had like I think it was a third of the entire fleet count for San Diego.
Yes.
Between all the 5 landings, thanks to Jimmy Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was
He's
a
another
joke
guy we
with him.
should probably get
Oh
in
yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's definitely a legend. We will get legendary Lou on here too.
Chet Young
Yeah.
and legendary
Chet,
Lou.
That's it.
Yeah, that
We're
sounds
gonna
good.
have to get him. Yeah.
Jeff Yeomans, 540 Slingers, planning on seeing you, Phil and Danny, at the Christmas party, hopefully sooner. That would be my wish, Jeff.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your
Absolutely.
service, and I would love to see you as soon as possible. Perch Master Nick, who, Danny, you've met him a few times. He is a fantastic guy, a great person, and he is so into fishing. Nick says he's watching live from Hawthorne, California. Happy fishing, everyone. Same to you, Nick.
That's awesome.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the support, guys.
Appreciate it. Cue ball. That's my boy, Captain Adam, on the new look and on the new low and new look and. Been fishing with him since 2010. Man, that new low and.
He's got it dialed in.
He does.
Let me tell you, like just the crowd that he's got, with the Dome, Dave Domo and Bobby Gonzalez and that whole group that's on there. You're talking about the ultimate big tuna killers, and they've got it dialed in. But he's putting them on them. He's got it going.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Rick Slater says he used to go to 976 Tuna for help and then the local bars and talk to the fishermen for the latest headings. No, I wouldn't trust that bar info.
Yeah. You can't see straight. You wouldn't know what heading.
That's
Yeah, it's
funny,
pretty
Rick.
tough.
I love it, man. Tyler Tanaka, Scott Grant, I actually just left a comment on another discussion about the major pen ops were around 2007. Bluefin tuna spawn at 8 years old with 10 million eggs. 2007 plus 8 years equals 2015. Start of the miracle local bluefin tuna. Maybe Tyler has connected all the dots here.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting theory.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I know the ones that are left in the pen are, they're kind of messed up because they get that that circling deal.
Yeah.
And then when they get out in the open, if they haven't had that freedom to go search out bait locally and this and that, I think it does mess with the pen fish. They have a different mentality. Yeah.
Blue skies, I think when Mexico chased out the Chinese fleet is why the fishery came black. Well, they also chased out the Mazatlan fleet. Those guys would fish yellowfin over there in Sinaloa, and then they'd say, hey, let's go mess up the bluefin. But I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but it was some kind of a threat about everybody had to have dolphin-safe tuna. And for Costco, you can't sell unless you have that. Or they just won't deal with you.
Yeah.
And they tied that up where they were going to take that away if they came up and messed with the bluefin anymore. So the Mazatlan fleet also said, we're out here. I totally think Blue Skies that taking some of that commercial fishing, the majority away, really helped. Those guys have their quota in 2 days in January.
Usually in January they're done
Yeah.
for the year.
Yeah.
So that if that is reflective of the kind of volume that's out there, folks, we're going to be looking at them for forever. And if we keep it like this, if we keep it maintained like that, it just be phenomenal. Just get better.
Yep.
Well,
is fishing better now than it's ever been in your
absolutely.
career?
Come on. I mean, and Phil, I mean, if they're going to get to the magnitude that the fish that got to in the Channel Islands, back in whatever year that was with the seiner fleet, you're talking fish that are up close to 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the tackle we're going to need for that?
Oh, my God.
It's
going to be incredible.
Yeah.
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 Rick Slater says, Zane Gray, walk across schools of fish. I don't know if it was that good, but it was close. I'm telling you, it's good right now, though, Rick.
Yeah.
Rick Slater says, were albacore actually caught on piers?
Yeah, they were. They were. I remember my grandpa talking about that at Redondo. The canyon's not that far away from where the pier was.
Right.
Right, yeah.
It was very close.
Yeah.
There was some old timers when I was a kid on that pier that would really make a long cast and wind back a big old boccaccio. They'd get into the lip of that canyon, I think.
Canyon, yeah.
Or into the canyon and some of that deep water. Man,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, these guys are catching rock cod on the pier.
Absolutely. It's amazing.
Yeah, pretty
It's
crazy
amazing.
stuff. Jake Lightfoot, late to the show. Hey, Jake, better late than never. Stren Kevlar, LOL. 51 Soriano. Hello, gentlemen. It's always nice to see you all. It's great to see you, too. I love and enjoy the fisherman stories you guys be telling on this show. We love telling them, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, just let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah, thanks
We've been
again.
around long
Yeah,
enough.
I'm telling you, Jake Lightfoot is laughing out loud. Jose Guevara says, hi, guys. What is a double trouble rig and how do you fish it?
Oh, double trouble. It's just you're dangling generally two sardines, and you fish them on a kite. You usually fish them on the kite, and they're just dangling, and they hit the water like that until you get your blow up. And yeah, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
See those fish blow out?
But I think if you have the flyers, they seem to be a lot more effective on the cows. I mean, we do a lot of the double troubles when you're down at Lejos and places like that too. But yeah, the flyers seem to have a higher percentage on the cows.
Dave Clark says, I can remember Captain Mike on the Searcher calling out bluefin at 100 fathoms. I didn't even consider dropping down. A little deep, man, 100 fathoms, right?
Yeah, 600 feet of winding, folks. That's
Fisherman 72, good evening, Phil and Danny. Good evening to you, my friend. Have to get back down and do a show with you again. Just got back yesterday from running the Tomahawk and finished a 2-day trip with limits of bluefin tuna for my 30 guys. That's got to be Will.
That's awesome.
That's Will.
Awesome.
Good job,
Way to
Will.
go, man.
You're welcome anytime,
Right back
my friend.
in the saddle, bud.
Yeah, for sure.
Get them.
Nice hit, and it'd be great to see you here, Will. They used to call them horse mackerels, Cue Ball says. I remember horse mackerel, don't you?
I sure do.
Oh, Fisherman 72, it's Will, by the way. We know that, man. It's good to see you both. Great to see you, Will.
Yeah.
And
Way to
thanks
kill 'em, bud.
for joining us. I can see a couple boats are pulling in here. I'm going to ask you a question and then stick my head out and see if I can't grab somebody from maybe the El Patron or something
Oh,
to come
yeah.
in and chat with you for a second.
Come on. It doesn't get any. that's the hottest dope you can get.
Yeah, right?
Right off the boat.
I know
right?
they had limits, but I mean, maybe just take a second and talk
Yeah.
about how long you think this bike could actually last. Is it possible for it to go through the new year? And I'll be right
I
back.
absolutely. We just look at water temp. We look at conditions, and you know what? To be honest with you, I don't trust what biologists say, folks. I really don't. I've seen them wrong in more cases than anything. I just trust what Mother Nature dictates, because these fish will adapt and do whatever Mother Nature dictates to, not what a biologist will tell you. So don't go by that. We'll just keep an eye on it. Something happens with the transition if the weather gets cooler. Who knows? We might see albies. You don't know. We don't know. And I'm looking because we're looking at the biomass of chovies down here now, and we got a great influx of chovies. And guess what? That's their favorite bait. So you never know what's going to happen. I'll tell you. Wouldn't it be nice to have tuna year round? That could be an amazing thing.
Oh my
Who
God.
knows? Who knows? I haven't seen everything yet. I'm open to anything. Whether Mother Nature dictates, that's what we just take it and we run with it. So yeah, we don't know. We don't know. We can't call it in our crystal ball because we'd be wrong way too often. We just most of the times and even with the biologists, they'll just take the situation and look back in retrospect and surmise what they think happened. But they really don't know. Otherwise they'd be able to tell us what's going on here or what we can expect in the future. But they can't. You know.
Danny, I have an interesting question for you. I often think about this. Think about when you started fishing. How many years ago is that? Let's say in the sport fishing business.
In sport fishing business, I started right at college. So
Is it like 50 years probably? I know
pretty close.
Yeah,
Pretty
right.
close. Yeah.
I was 12
Yeah. Pretty
and I'm
close. In high school,
65.
we were fishing pretty seriously on the sport boats
Yeah.
in San Diego. Yeah.
Right. Did this business become what you thought it would become? Are you happy with what it's become? Are you disappointed?
I'm very happy with it because if you look, you know, I think, Phil, we've been very blessed, and I've worked with a lot of major tackle manufacturers, and to do the traveling, not just in the United States, but to travel overseas, to negotiate deals overseas with, like in Japan and stuff. You look at the technologies and things involved over there and the fishing methods and everything else. They're pretty astute when it comes to technology and everything. But you know what? I credit our guys, and not just in this country. I'm talking about Southern California, you know. And I credit them, and I mentioned this before, I think a lot of it has to do with our fishermen come from aerospace, Hollywood, JPL, Disneyland. I mean, our society and our fishermen, all you guys do not settle. You see a pen, you see something, you're going to make it better. You're going to find a way to make it better because that's how we're wired here, folks. And I had that blessing being around. My dad was a senior designer at Hughes Aircraft. He was doing, stuff for the military. He had a clearance. But it's not just him. It's almost all the guys that came out of it. If you look at Accurate Reels, which I fish, you know, you look at all these machine shops and stuff that make fine tackle, came out and adapted from something else that they were making at the time and went into the industry, got good, sharp fishermen, because we do have the most innovative and the sharpest fishermen in the country overall, you know. It's not by luck, you know. And if you look at some of the major manufacturers, they were all based here, you know. You look at Daiwa started, in Gardena, but what do you have there? Oh man, you got the input from all the Redondo Beach tackle shops, the Gardena tackle shops, Mickey's out in East LA, but you had all the tackle shops in Southern California in general. If you look at their mentality compared to the rest of the country, we smoke everybody. I'm not being braggadocious about that. I'm telling you the truth. And our fishermen don't settle. You got guys that are tweaking. I sat in the galley with Joe Miller 10 days as we were getting blown out in Guadalupe and had to sit in the lee. 10 days, he's playing with knots till he came up with a Miller knot. took that knot, we took it to a show at Long Beach. It broke all the other knots. But you have guys that are possessed to do stuff like that. Not everybody around the country does that, you know. And I fish with guys that I was told were the best fishermen in their area, in different regions. Fish with them and smoke them because they're so set in their ways, they're not willing to adapt and change over to do things, you know. I mean, they would tell me, oh, we can't use that. You have to use a spinning reel. And I said, you know, I think I could use a bass casting reel and do this and that, you know. And we just have that ability to adapt better because of all you guys. You all come from different facets, different industries, but because we are more technically based and we have a different mindset. I mean, we want to tweak things. We want to make it better. And if, it doesn't matter how much better you make it, but you're making it better. You're striving to make it better. That's what drives our fishing industry here in Southern Cal, you know. And that's why the successful manufacturers here have always listened to the top tackle dealers and all these guys, because the top tackle dealers have the top fishermen. If you listen to the top fishermen, you know, who fish for, you know, the skippers that are the top skippers in the world, you know, it all tweaks. I mean, you know, like I said, we're blessed being around, you know, to start with the scanning sonars and things. So, you know, it all goes hand in hand, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, all that innovation comes from SoCal, and it's what we talk about. I mean, they're innovating on a grand scale, and they're doing. But you can innovate on every trip you're on by keeping your eyes open and learning and changing it up, right?
Phil?
Like the Marines say, you know, adapt.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I don't want to slam guys, but I'll sit down on a Saturday morning sometime and I turn on a Bassmaster show or something like that, bass tournament, and I'm watching these guys high stick and do this and that. I'm going, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Number one, you couldn't do that with the stuff I use, because if you high stick it, you blow it up. But they don't know what high modulus graphite is. These guys aren't technical guys, you know. I watch, when you're up here, you got no control of the fish. You're down here, you know, we could pull the fish in faster, more efficiently. You know, it has to do with everything in general. Implementing our methodology from the ocean into the lakes and pulling at a more effective angle and on the wind. You're down here. I'm still bass fishing down here. I'm watching these guys do this. Well, you have no control when you got 1/10 the pressure on your rod up here and you watch the fish jump and do this and that. Well, there's where you're going to lose fish, you know. They don't get it like our guys, you know. So when you fish around the country and fish around the world, you look at guys, you start distinguishing, you know, good fishermen. And I put my money on all our guys here.
I love it.
Yeah.
Halibut Man Mitchell wants to know, have you guys ever done crab snaring up in San Francisco? I'm going with my girlfriend on November 4th. Man,
Hey,
that's going to be
bring some
fun.
dungees back for us.
Bring them back, Mitchell.
You can't beat it. When you get north of Conception and stuff, you get into Dungees. Oh my God, that's the best crab. I don't think you can beat Dungeness.
Really?
Yeah, to me, I'd rather have Dungeness than even king crab. I mean,
Would you
good
really?
king crab's great, but
Yeah.
you know, but Dungeness overall, it's unreal.
Yeah, best of luck on that. Maybe we're going to
Yeah.
have Dungeness crabs for the Christmas
go.
party.
There we go.
If you get enough.
There you go.
I know, you can't get that much.
I'll show you. I'll give you a great recipe for it. You know,
There you are, Mitchell.
marinating the Dungees. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
That sounds great.
I got that from Tommy Amalfitano's mom down at the fish market here.
Oh,
It's a little
shit.
Italian thing, but it's a killer. It's the best.
Yeah. You know, I've passed on spider crab my whole life. Like, I don't want to eat spider crab. And then I was in Baja, and what's the name of that? Another guy, I can't remember his name tonight. It was out on Punta Banda, and I was visiting him. He has a little ponga thing.
Yeah.
He goes, would you like some spider crab? And I said, not really. And he goes, well, my guy just shelled, you know, I'm giving you a bag of 5 pounds of meat. And I said, oh, okay, sure. And, you know, I'm thinking, oh my God, that was the best crab. I just didn't want to deal with cleaning it, and you know, they're muddy, they're
muddy.
kind of weird,
Yeah.
but
It's
they're
like
a relative to the king crab.
I was just going to say, we called them poor man's king crab.
Yeah. My
But they're-
God, was that
The
good.
meat's good, yeah.
I had
Excellent.
5 pounds of pure meat.
Oh my God, that's heaven.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was so good.
Yeah.
Ivan was the guy's name. Ivan, can't remember his thing. Man, I'm forgetting everything now. What's wrong with me?
Hey, I'm there.
Am I getting old?
I'm there too.
Jonathan Jones. Jonathan, it is so great to see you here and welcome you to the show, my friend. Love the show and just saying a prayer for Eddie and family. I'm just turning 71 and time is starting to really fly by. We are blessed with each day given time to go fishing. P.S. Take a kid fishing. Jonathan,
You're absolutely right.
you are an incredible person to first of all, keep
Absolutely.
Eddie in your prayers. I'm still walking around. I'm trying not to be sad about it, but I can't help it. Captain Eddie Leland, doesn't have a lot of time left with us here on this earth. And I visited him today, and Jonathan, thank you. We really, really appreciate it. And he's so right. Just when you wake up in the morning, there's two ways you can look at life. Oh, my back
you.
hurts, and this is lousy. Oh, my electric windows won't go up. I don't have as much money as I'd like. I don't have the car that I'd like. Or you can say, man, am I blessed? I am so blessed. I have life. I live in the greatest country on the face of the earth. I have all these opportunities. I've got family members. I'm lucky because I do the morning briefing every morning. You cannot help but walk out on the beach at 6:30 in the morning and look around and say, I am so blessed.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you think of what they woke up to in Gaza, and you
Exactly.
you know what? Count your blessings, folks. We underestimate that a lot of times, but we're here free, we're safe. Some extent, there are some goofies out there. There's some crazies that do crazy things, and hopefully that will all be resolved one day too. We get law and order back. That would be great. But
Now you're dreaming.
yeah.
No, it'll come back around,
Well,
I'm sure. Jonathan, thank you for that. Eddie needs your thoughts and prayers, everybody, and really appreciate you pointing that out. Another benefit to being grateful is it's very, very difficult to be anything but happy when you start with gratitude. You start talking about, I got this great family, it's such a beautiful day, and then it's hard to be miserable.
That's right. That's
But
right.
when you go the other way, it's real easy to be miserable.
Yeah.
I wish I had more. I should have blah, blah, blah.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Be grateful. Mitchell, definitely noted. Thanks, guys. Perch Master Nick. Nick, good to see you back here again. Thanks for staying with us. He says spider crab is amazing. Yeah, I was freaking blown away. I'm going to go down there and find Ivan again and get some
Yeah,
more.
you're talking about nice chunks of meat.
Oh my
Yeah,
God!
yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean,
That's absolutely-
did you ever do the barge thing when you were a kid? Mm-hmm. We used to
We
take
did.
frickin' those star crab traps, and we would literally come back with a gunny sack full of crabs.
Yeah,
Just
we never crabbed. I wish we would have.
oh my God, it was frickin' wide open.
I remember going to the crab pots here where they cooked them for you at the
Yeah.
Ports of Call or Norm's Landing.
Yeah, and you break them up on the
Yeah,
table,
where
and
they had the seal tanks and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, same
that
thing in
was- that was
Redondo.
fun. Yeah, absolutely. I remember
Yeah.
doing that as a kid.
is
Love
that your favorite crustacean? Is it crab or lobster?
We got spoiled, over the years with Dungeness, and live Dungies are to me some of the best. And like I said, I'll put that out there, but I'll give you a recipe for it. People coming up on the Christmas time, you'll kill.
Can you give it now, or is it too
Oh,
detailed?
no,
or
no, it's not detailed. You know what? It's pretty simple.
yeah, go ahead.
And I like live if you can. Clean it out. You know how you break it, crack it. You clean it, put it in a bowl. Olive oil, garlic, parsley, lemon. I think that's it. Stir it all up, let it sit. Get some great Italian bread so you can dip it, because when the juices come out of it, it mixes with all the olive oil and the garlic, parsley, and everything, and the lemon. Oh my God, it's a killer. It's simple. It's simple, but it's phenomenal, people. It's a show-stopping deal at a party for sure. And
Be on for 2 seconds.
yeah, I mean, and it's that time of year. As it gets cooler, you see more and more of the Dungeness. But again, we've been very blessed being around really good food and learning from the right people. And that recipe was Tommy Amalfitano's mom's recipe that we use, and to this day, it's still, man, that's one of the best crab. There's nobody. I mean, there's never anything left when we're done at our house.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, let me show everybody this, and then I'll hand it to you. But that's a restaurant in Rosarito Beach, and it's one of my favorite restaurants. The seafood there is so good, and it's called La Huerita, and it's in Rosarito Beach. The food there is fantastic. Tony Lozano is the guy that owns it. Actually, though, here's the
Oh,
story,
cool.
Danny.
Yeah.
That's his mother, and she was the one who basically started Puerto Nuevo. You know, the lobster town, the Pueblo?
Yes,
And
yes.
now it's like world famous almost. Her husband would go out lobster fishing. He would inevitably, like all fishermen, be really late. And she had clients waiting to buy live lobster from him. And she started like, these people are like, they're going to have to wait 2 hours. So she said to herself, I got some rice, I got some beans cooked. I'm going to cook some lobster and serve. And that's how Puerto Nuevo got started. His mom. And he carried
Doesn't
it to
get any
Rosarito
better.
Beach.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it does not get any better.
Tony told me, we'll have to have him come here, or
Yeah,
you and I will
yeah,
go to
yeah, yeah,
Rosarito. Tony told me that when he was a very young kid in Rosarito, that some of the big ships, naval ships, they would, I can't remember how this happened, I don't know, but like a lot of their rations washed up on the beach. And their so they were, it was like Christmas. They were grabbing this stuff and eating candy or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
was in
yeah.
the rations. I don't think a boat sank or anything down there, but for some reason, I don't know if they were being, it might have been that the guys came in Ensenada or something, handed it out, or that's why we're going to get Tony on. But he told me it was
Oh, my
like,
God.
you know, like Christmas. They're running around getting this
Well, yeah,
stuff.
it's funny you talk about stuff washing up on the beach and stuff, but I can remember leaving H&M, you know, during the summertime, and for a couple of years, you know, when there wasn't much tuna fishing offshore, you know, we'd go and fish down the beach, you know, the Ensenada, fish all the way up the coast and stuff, and you know, like with the Tanaka brothers and those guys, we'd stop at the landing, and before we got back on, we'd have time sometimes just get down the landing and come back up, and we're just round the clock, you know. But we'd get candy and junk from the landing store at H&M, and everybody would try to have their different stashes in the galley, and I would always sniff them all out and steal everybody's candy. So one day, I go up in the galley and I go into one and I go, oh, I found the stash. It wasn't the kids. It was Taka's. And he goes, get out of there. And here's why. And this you'd almost want to cry when you hear about it. So the next day we're down the beach. And you'd always have the pongas come out. And they'd have the little kids in the ponga. Well, I mean, so I feel like the big heel. Taka bought all this candy for the kids. That's Taka.
The Mexican kids.
Yeah,
That's
for
so
the Mexicans
nice.
in the ponga
Yeah.
they come out, to the Mustang, and that's Taka though. I mean, he and Katie, his wife, they've always had the biggest hearts. And if you go to Taka's Tackle, I mean, it's conveyed there too. But I mean, here's the thing. Here I was going to steal the stash. Well, he had all this stuff for the kids.
Oh,
And the next day I
nice.
said, oh. Bad Danny, But no, I mean that just tells you,
What a
the
person
kind of
he
people
was.
absolutely still is.
Yeah. Is he doing well?
I'm hoping maybe, and I'll call Marty, one of the kids, Steve, who ran the New Hustler and ran our boats for us, the Fortune. See if we can't get him down there. I would love to have him.
That would be great.
Yeah, I would.
Let's
I would
do
too.
that.
So any of you people out there that go into Taka's shop, drill him. Tell him we want him on the show.
Where is his shop?
He's out in Anaheim, Buena Park.
Yeah.
Been there forever.
Let's go out there someday.
And he's one of the most honest guys you ever get. He will take money out of his pocket. If he doesn't believe in the product, he won't sell it to you. Sell you something, that's more reasonable or anything. But he's so honest. That's how he is, and that's why he's got the clientele that he's got too.
Right.
He's got
They're
the
loyal,
clientele.
I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, because that's just the way he is.
Well, you just told a great
And-
story about how generous and thoughtful he was.
And the other thing is, most tackle shops, the funny stories and the pranks and things that we've done over the past. I mean, I could tell you pranks. You guys are going to be in tears because you're going to be laughing so hard that we pull on each other when we're fishing. But we'll save that for when. Hopefully, we can get Taka out here. Because
Let's do that.
We got some great and funny stories.
We'll go out there and visit him someday.
Yeah, that's
and
the
then-
other thing too. Yeah,
Yeah, in
absolutely.
Anaheim, huh?
Anaheim, yeah.
Not too far from me.
You know,
then.
and there's a lot of great fishermen that evolved out of there. The Corky Okoys, the Jimmy Lou's. Well, Jimmy Lou was also at Yo's and back and forth. But there's just such great fishermen that evolved out of the shop. I used to go there to get my crawdads, you know, and he was a bass fisherman. Well, you know, being my mentor on the Mustang and buying the Mustang from Taka, you know, of course and basically we're family, you know. And so, no, there's nobody better.
All right, we'll try to make that happen.
Yep.
Omar says, salutations, Captain Danny and Phil. I hope all is well. I missed most of the show. Can't wait to catch up. Yeah, it'll be archived as soon as we're all done here. Omar, good to see you here. Jeremy, done Dungeness crab in Whidbey Island, and they are good. Drop the pots before work and pick them up after work. That sounds pretty cool. Pretty much guaranteed limit every time. Crab boils
me.
all
Killing
the
me.
time. Jeremy,
Killing me.
you're killing us. Man, that sounds so
Oh, my God.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Jonathan Jones, Gardena Bowl is calling the oxtail soup. We'll break the mouth.
That's a
Yeah.
Hawaiian saying. Break
Oh.
the mouth. It's so good, you break the mouth.
Oh, okay. Oxtail
Chet
soup.
will know that.
Hey, there's Chet right now.
Yeah.
Chet says the first time I drove to the lobster village, the roads in the village were dirt. Same when I first went to Cabo too. Dirt roads, so I'm old as dirt.
You know, I think we went down with
Same here.
some of those early trips.
I did.
We had nothing but fun.
Yeah.
Chet, yeah. We miss you, buddy.
Yeah, Chet, that sounds
Yeah.
so reminiscent of my first drives down there. We
Yeah.
went right after they put the highway in, the
Oh, yeah,
Trans-Peninsular.
yeah.
So it was like, we couldn't believe, I'm like, wow, this road is like, it's better than the roads up in the U.S.
That's awesome.
My brother and I were really, 17, 18, I
I
forget
can
what.
tell you a funny deal. I think Chet and we all did at one time. We collaborated on this. Do you remember when the fish ties were very popular?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chet.
Yeah, I used to have a
Chet,
couple of those.
what we did was we took a white T-shirt, silk screen like a collar here, and we had a yellowtail silk screen. on
That's
here.
cool.
And people, it almost looked like it was a fish tie, But I mean, we did stuff like we had fun, and I think we sold out, and we wrapped it in butcher paper so it looked like a piece of fish. And I think we sold out of them down Day at the Docks one year.
Oh, my
So
God.
we had so much fun
Yeah.
over the years too. So it's not just the fishing part; it's the camaraderie with a lot of these great people that we've
Oh,
been
my
around.
God. There's some
we were blessed to be
characters.
around all these guys.
Yeah, there's some real characters
Absolutely.
in this business,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah. You bet.
Oh my
You
God,
bet.
it gets crazy. Isaac, and Isaac was just out with his son Ethan and Dan Lightfoot and Michael Limon. They were out of San Diego and they had all
cool.
kinds of fish. He says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Sorry I'm late. Cleaning fish. I love Danny's shirt."
Good deal.
Danny, where'd you get that shirt?
I'm trying to think. Oh, Gary Yanagihara, who was on the show a couple
Oh,
weeks
yeah.
ago, his church had them made.
Oh shit, I keep wanting to call him and go get my back cracked.
He'll go get your back. He'll fix you up in a hurry.
Will he?
Oh my God.
I won't never walk
Oh, my
again
God,
after
you
that?
don't
Or
know
what?
yet. Well, you'll go straight from the boat out the Southgate.
Yeah,
Trust me.
right.
Yeah.
I got to call him. You sent me his number, so
Yep.
I'll follow
Yep.
up on that.
Yep.
Rick Slater, can you guys talk sculpin, the real chicken of the sea? How do you like to eat sculpin?
Sculpin is delicious, folks. And I remember, there was a year that was so horrible when it came to tuna. It was the rock pile saved us. And I mean, the whole
I remember
San
some of
Diego
those
fleet,
years.
we'd go down there and limit out on them. Hopefully come back up to the islands. Hopefully scratch a yellowtail or two, But I mean, it saved us. But I got one of my funniest stories ever.
Yeah.
Just so happened, so it had to be like 83 or something like that, one of the early years. And I had Brian moved over. I had Brian on my brother's boat because he needed some good experienced kids. And
Brian who?
Kirihara.
Oh, okay.
American Angler Brian. And also another captain who later on had the galley and was Harlan Burke.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, well, Harlan, he used to fish as a little kid on the Mustang with us too because his dad and I are friends. And Gerald, we had a whole bunch of the crew that were on the Cherokee. Well, they're fishing, the rock pile for sculpin and just filling gunny sacks and gunny sacks of sculpin, right? And it's hot and sunny out, okay? And so the kids take their shirts off. It's hot. And they're all young, right? So they're getting they're getting their summer tan down there as they're working. And I remember somebody messing around. Anyway, live squid. Harlan had his shirt off. He's taking a sculpin off the hook. Somebody throws a live squid, hits Harlan on the back. So he goes, "Yow!" And he reaches for the squid. Harlan's gonna kill me with this story.
This is great.
The sculpin spine gets him in the butt. Okay. So now he's got real pain, serious pain from the spine.
The pain in the
So
butt.
you know how you take down the swelling or the sting
Hot water,
right away?
right?
Well, ammonia too.
Yeah.
So he's back there, and they pour ammonia. The only problem is ammonia transferred down the crevice.
Oh no.
He ended up jumping in the bait tank to get the burn out, and we were very sympathetic, as you can tell, knowing all the guys in the fishing fleet.
Messing with him
Oh
forever.
my God, forever.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that didn't become.
Yeah, he's going
his
to kill me for hearing this story, folks. But yeah, that was a famous.
What was his
story.
nickname after that? Hot butt or hot crack or?
Yeah, pucker up.
Oh my God, that's funny.
But yeah,
Harlan's gonna kill you.
yeah, he will. But
What's
that's
he
all
doing now?
He's been running yachts.
Oh, has he?
He's been running yachts down, I think, in Mexico.
A lot of the guys do that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those old skippers, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah.
Perch Master Nick, I can fish calico bass and sculpin all day long. I'll make sure that the whole boat has limits. Yeah, he's very generous. Loves to fish. Loves to pass out fish.
You can't beat that fish.
Calico bass and sculpin, man, that's fun and it's great
Phenomenal.
eating.
Yeah, you just have to be careful. We were given a lot of haircuts back in those days with the dikes,
Yeah.
taking off the spines,
Absolutely. I mean, you walk by and kick a gunny sack full of those and it'll go right through your boot.
Right through, your toes.
Ouch.
Be lucky to get the boot off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Doug Rubin, El Sueño says, hello, my friends. He's out of San Diego. Doug,
right.
always great to see you. Tommy Tar, it's about time. Danny, love the shirt. Did you feel comfortable telling us your testimony? You mean about, what are you talking about, Tommy?
About this?
Oh, would you feel comfortable?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no,
Go
we
ahead.
grew up that way. I got to tell you, I mean, the reason why our families, both my mom's side and my dad's side, left Japan in 1892 was they were Christians, and they had to have clandestine services, and I think it was the Buddhist church allowed them to do services in clandestine, but if they got caught, they could have been, the Buddhists, they probably would have executed them. So in 1892, when they opened it up for, why am I going to say export? For immigration, okay, they all came to America. Now, my parents, my dad's side went straight into Seattle, where my grandparents on my mom's side stopped in Hawaii. And back my grandpa and grandma were both born in Hilo. So, that's when we came over. So it was in 1892 when they allowed, some of the first people to migrate out of Japan. And because they were Christians, it was a good thing. And down the road, it was even better, And one of my uncles actually ended up in the military intelligence service in World War II, transcribing Japanese code and stuff to help our military.
Great.
It was the whole MIS service.
Yeah.
The rest of them were in the 442nd. So, we're tried and true Americans.
When I was living in China, I actually went to a couple of underground Christian services.
Yeah, probably the same thing.
Because
right?
I wanted to see.
Exactly.
I was a little nervous about how China is, and so I went. China's an odd place because when I drove into Quinshan, there's this freaking Catholic church, so with a golden dome. So you know what I'm thinking right away, right? I mean, golden dome.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, they put me in the right place here in China. And it was weird. I studied up a little bit on that, and those priests are under the, hey, this is the guy I wanted to see here. Do you have 2 seconds?
Absolutely.
Can you sit with Danny?
Yeah.
Hey, wait, Chauncey, come here. This is Chauncey Priel.
Yes, sir.
He is on the El Patron. He's going to talk about his day's fishing. Danny,
wow, that's
Danny's going to
awesome,
talk
man.
to him about that.
Yeah.
Chauncey, it's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, buddy.
Take a seat.
Hey, how's this, guys?
You guys.
As we call it, you're not going to get any dope better than this.
Oh, we
Right off the boat. Right off the boat.
Absolutely.
All right, John. Tell us.
Right there.
Tell us what went on. Tell us.
Oh, yeah, well.
Guys, get down here.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
El Patron, today we had a great bite. We had a lot of casualties. It was a light line kind of day, 20, 25 pound. We definitely hooked a lot of fish, lost a lot of fish. The fish were ranging from 20 to I'd say 50 pounds, and it was a nice variety. If you guys could fly a line, get your bait away from the boat, you have a great opportunity. Our baits today were about 4 or 5 inches. It wasn't huge, but the better experienced fisherman that could get his bait away from the boat did great. Keep changing your baits. You guys get out here, 1-2 minute soaks. Unless it's a long soak, but changing that bait's key, and you'll hear it from the crew over here. We'll continuously, pound it in your head to do it right, and do it right, enough. You will get bit, and you'll get the opportunity.
So you guys have your little reels with 20 that'll fly line really well.
Right.
I like using the light wire. Well, the fish. That's the problem when you get up above the 30, 40 pound class. I was straightening out some of those hooks, but those little gamakatsus with the rings on fish up to about 30 something, it's a killer because they will outfish anything, and fluorocarbon.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, when you get in that 50 pound class, it starts going into the stuff that we were getting last year. Yeah, and you start straightening out some hooks. You have to escalate your hook size.
Yeah, you definitely got to be ready.
Yeah,
definitely got to be ready for everything. The assortment of hooks and different types. I would definitely, if you have it in arsenal, it comes in handy.
Yeah,
definitely comes in handy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a heck of a bite, man. This is October.
Yeah.
You got to keep pinching yourself, man. I'm tuna fishing in October.
Yeah.
Wide open bite. That's actually a pick bite like that. When you have to work at it. That's one of my favorites because you don't catch them by accident.
Yeah, no,
you can't catch them by accident.
The guys definitely worked hard today, and they did a good job of hooking fish and getting fish to the boat. Unfortunately, like I said, fishing that light line, how the casualties come. But they did a great job, and they were prepared, and it was just one of those days. Light line, casualties. You win, you lose, and you prepare yourself for the next day.
Oh man, especially when you're getting quality fish, 40 and 50 pound fish on that light line. That's a heck of a feat, man. That's, but the better fishermen, you still guys have to know you got to pull on them. You can't just soak them. You got to put the screws to them.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your weather? How was it?
The weather on the way out was bumpy, but it was fishing wise, it was gorgeous. Coming in, it was a little. The wind picked up, but it's supposed to be nice the next few days. I think all the way up until Monday. So I mean, if you guys want to go fishing, it's definitely the time. It's definitely. It looks like it's to be nice weather, and these fish keep biting. The opportunity will be be right in front of your hands. So prepare yourself. You guys want to come fishing? Definitely come with different outfits and make the time, because right now this weather. We're fortunate to have this weather window. So.
Yeah. Hey, take them up on it, folks. Look at your calendar. Look at what time of year it is, and to catch that grade of fish, man, that's phenomenal.
No, it was
That's
great.
phenomenal. That's
It's great to see the smiles.
Oh yeah.
And, unfortunate to see the losses too, but
Yeah, that happens. That
you
happens.
prepare yourself for the next one.
Awesome,
Yeah.
man. Thank you so much for the
Thank you,
info,
gentlemen.
Chauncey,
Very
good to
much.
see you.
Thank
Absolutely,
you, man.
gentlemen. Thank you for having me in.
Thank you.
You got
It's
it,
time to
man.
go back to work.
Thanks for this. Okay, go get them.
All right, thank you guys.
Hey, everybody, I fished with this guy. He is awesome on deck. Chauncey, thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Good stuff, man. That's a beauty of working down here at the landing.
There's nothing better.
I know.
Nothing better. Your
El-
hands on with everything. I mean, and it's right there.
El Patron, everybody, 310-832-8304. You'll be able to meet Chauncey. Doesn't he seem like a fun guy?
Oh my God.
He's fun, man.
Yeah.
He's a good
And
fisherman,
when you're
too.
fired up and you know your business, doesn't get any better.
And he's in here leaving on a day and a half tonight, so he's got a very limited amount of time. Very generous with his time for you and me
Yes,
and the Friedman
absolutely.
Adventures
Well,
family.
you got hot off the boat, man. Doesn't get any better than that. Trust me.
Exactly. All right, that was a one-day trip, by the way, everybody. Let's see. Um, uh, Isaac says, great story, too funny, talking about Harlan Burke.
Oh.
Halibut Man, thanks you guys for every week. Just another great episode. Thank you so much, Mitchell, for being here. Ken Trenholm, I love Ken. Hello, Friedman Adventure family. Better late than never getting here tonight. Ken, it's great to see you. Ken, November the 3rd, we're going to be back on board the Horizon. Maybe we'll see you there, my friend. Doug, Ruben El Sueño, tuna still biting today, but it's the fourth quarter. I predict one more month of tuna. And Danny predicts that it's going to go longer than that, right? Or not?
Hey, we just don't know. But I would say just by the way things are going, you know, and the amount of fish. And there's a fish that likes a little cooler water when things cool off. That hopefully they'll move down south there, because there's a bunch of them further north too.
Absolutely. Hey, Matthew Tamayo says, Chauncey, what's up, man? He's a Chauncey fan. I could see that.
Awesome.
Chauncey's gone, Matthew, as you probably saw. He's getting ready for another trip, but I'll let him know about that in a second. Awesome. My buddy says, Isaac, Matt is helping out on the El Patron. He's driving the boat. Looks like they had a great day. Yes, they did.
Yeah,
He's a great skipper, says Matthew Tamayo, talking about Chauncey. Provides 5-star customer service and has a work ethic 0 to none. Yeah, he's great.
You know,
man.
isn't it awesome what you can do when you love what you're doing?
Yeah.
And that's your job. Doesn't get any better.
I know, it's not like work,
And it's
right?
your heart. Yeah, it's not work. Yeah.
I mean,
I never considered it work all those years I ran boats.
well,
It was, it was a lot of time, but I love
never
doing
considered
it.
it work.
And there's something you can learn every day, people, if your eyes are open. Yeah, it really is.
Kind of like doing this podcast, right?
Yeah, that too.
It's a love, you know.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And listen, we're learning from these guys too.
Yes.
You know, your experience and everything. That's what's neat in sharing all this, and and the thing is, things that you learn here, you may be able to implement in even different fisheries, and we talk about that, and you can do that. So having that mindset where you got an open mind, and you said, yeah, I'm going to try this for this fish. Yeah, well, I was done for tuna, but you don't know it doesn't work for sea bass or for yellowtail or whatever. And that's the beauty of fishing here, is that we got so many guys that have that mindset, in Southern Cal. I've always been very proud. I brag about them, but it's true. And it was like that, not in this market, even the fly fishing market, the trout and bass. I know, we dominated, and the rest of the country will say, well, it's a fluke deal. Yeah, maybe a fluke deal, but we still figured it out, folks, so credit our fishermen out here, and you guys. You're taking the time to learn all the things and if you pick up one thing off the show, that's a huge blessing. If you could implement it down the road on some fishing application you're doing, it's a win-win deal, guys.
All right, good stuff. Ken Trenholm says he's trying to get on that Horizon trip. He loves the boat and crew. Hope you can do it, Ken. Danny, we've been going 2 hours here, man.
Holy smokes!
I think we have at least.
Bunch of windbags.
You want to sign off? Tell
I
everybody
want to
goodbye.
thank everybody for tuning in tonight. You got any questions, write them down. We'll catch you next Thursday. But thank you for watching, and couldn't have done it without you guys. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow morning on the morning briefing. Danny, another fantastic show. I'll read a couple of more stuff here. Danny, I've seen this ebbing technique that's been done in Japan make its way here to Southern California. Can you elaborate on how this plastic tied to your knife jig works? You know anything about that, Danny?
Ebbing. No, it might be something I have in my shed, but I don't even know what it is. I got to tell you, when I was in Japan, I don't read Japanese. I don't speak Japanese. But I went in tackle shops, and Gail's going to kill me, but I spent a ton of money on stuff I didn't even know what it was. I said, this is cool.
It looks cool.
I don't know what it is, but it's cool. So there's a possibility I have all that stuff. I know I went crazy on some of my bass baits, my mega basses, things like that. But plastic tied to your knife jig. I had some of the original knife jigs before anybody knew what that was. And that was a long time ago, you know. That's when we river to sea many years ago. But yeah, I'll bring some of these things in, and I'll save the question for next week and elaborate on it, and maybe a light will go off in my head, and maybe not, but yeah, let's hope it does.
All right, Michael Lee says, great show as always. Thanks, Phil and Danny. Thank you, Michael,
Thank you, guys.
very much. Tangle Diver says, tonight I learned that there is such a thing as the Joe Miller knot. There you are, man.
And for years on the line testing machine at the Long Beach show, that won for a long, long time. If it's tied correctly, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's almost 100.
All right, I'll see you all on the morning briefing. Danny, thank you for another
Thank you,
great
folks, for
show.
tuning in.
Take care.